Chapter 819. It's done. Chapter 819. Soul Attack, Golden Soul Stab. From the name, I can tell that it's a soul attack. Ningyu wasn't scared by Jin Juelong's words at all. Instead, he teased him. I want to see how powerful your skill is. Humph. Let's see if you can still laugh after I kill you. Jin Juelong snorted and released all of his soul force. Not bad. Your soul force is at the peak of the 7th rank. Not bad. Ningyu was still calm. He looked at Jin Juelong as if he was watching a show. Ningyu, it's your honor to die under my golden soul stab. Jin Juelong released all of his energy and wrapped around his peak 7th rank soul force. He pushed it forward, trying to push it towards Ningyu. Whoosh! However, before Jin Juelong could push out his 7th rank soul force, his pupils shrank and he immediately retreated. Jin Juelong was always slow, so he retreated a lot later. A terrifying suction force came out from the soul tree. Facing this terrifying suction force, Jin Juelong's pupils shrank and his face turned pale. He was desperate. It was no wonder that Jin Juelong was desperate. His trump card was the Golden Soul Stab. He had placed all of his hope on it. Whether he could turn the situation around or leave safely depended on the Golden Soul Stab. But now, before he could use the Golden Soul Stab, a terrifying suction force came out from the soul tree and sucked away all of his peak 7th rank soul force. Jin Juelong, you are really stupid. Ningyu smiled faintly and said, I already told you just now. The soul tree's spiritual body was killed by me, but you still dared to use your soul power under the soul tree. It would be strange if you weren't devoured. My soul force was sucked away by the soul tree, and I don't have much energy left. It seems like you will be killed by me. Dark Emperor. With that, Ningyu coldly said, Didn't you always say that there was no one from the Corpse Een sect to kill? Jin Juelong is a peak fate realm warrior of the Corpse Een sect. I will hand him over to you now. You can decide whether to kill him or not. The Dark Emperor, let out a strange laugh. He rose from the ground and charged towards the Jin Juelong. The fact that Ningyu had successfully advanced to the half-step manifestation realm after devouring and refining the Shenyang pills was something that the Dark Emperor was extremely frustrated about. One must know that from the first time he laid eyes on Ningyu, the Dark Emperor's cultivation far surpassed Ningyu's. But now, in such a short time, Ningyu's cultivation was already on par with his. At this rate, it wouldn't be long before Ningyu's cultivation was higher than his. My strength isn't as strong as yours, and my cultivation isn't as high as yours either. How am I going to act tough in the future? Therefore, when the Dark Emperor heard that Ningyu was going to give him the Jin Juelong, he immediately rushed out. Ningyu, you can't kill me. I can tell you the cultivation method of the Golden Soul Thrust. Seeing that the Dark Emperor was about to reach him, the Jin Juelong roared. Don't talk nonsense. Ningyu doesn't like your Golden Soul Thrust. The Dark Emperor curled his lips and raised his front claw to slap the Jin Juelong's head. Slap. The Jin Juelong was already severely injured. After being slapped by the Dark Emperor, he fainted. Ningyu, I will find a place to devour him first. I will be back soon. The Dark Emperor grabbed the Jin Juelong and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Looking at the Dark Emperor's back, Ningyu shook his head and said, Harry Ball, find a place to rest first. Once the Dark Emperor is done with the Jin Juelong, we will leave this painting. Hearing this, Harry Ball and the others sat under the soul tree and began to rest. Red Devil, when will the Red Devil sword be able to refine the dead spirit chi inside? Actually, Ningyu didn't really care when they would leave the painting. What Ningyu cared about was when the Red Devil sword would be able to refine the dead spirit chi. After all, as long as the dead spirit chi couldn't be refined, Ningyu wouldn't be able to use the Red Devil sword. Without the Red Devil sword, Ningyu's strength would decrease by at least a few levels. The warriors that he would be facing next would be very strong. Even if his strength decreased by 1 level, he would still be in a situation where he wouldn't be able to break through. In theory, it will take 3 days. The Red Devil replied. In theory, that's too long. Is there a way to refine the dead spirit chi in a few hours or an hour? Ning Yu shook his head and said, There is a way, but... The Red Devil said hesitantly, But what? Let's hear it. Ning Yu said, It's definitely possible to refine the dead spirit chi in a short period of time, but it will consume all the king-grade origin crystals in the storage ring. The Red Devil said, I don't want to. Ning Yu couldn't help but swear. There were hundreds of thousands of king-grade origin crystals in the storage ring. Ning Yu would definitely be reluctant to use them all. I'll give you all the king-grade origin crystals in the storage ring. 1 hour. We'll depart in 1 hour and leave the painting. After thinking about it again and again, Ning Yu finally decided to give up on the king-grade origin crystals. He could earn more king-grade origin crystals if he ran out of king-grade origin crystals, but his combat strength would decrease. He might even lose his life. Between his life and the king-grade origin crystals, Ning Yu still chose his life. Understood. Hong, Mo, responded. Then his figure flashed and turned into an afterimage as he entered the storage ring. Sigh. Ning Yu sighed softly and sat cross-legged under the soul tree, like Fur Ball and the rest. The soul tree was very helpful for cultivating soul power. Ning Yu definitely wouldn't waste this hour. Time flew, and in the blink of an eye, an hour had passed. Swoosh! Suddenly, a black figure sped over from afar. Ning Yu opened his eyes, and his aura became stronger. Dark Emperor, you devoured a peak manifestation realm martial artist. Why are you still a half-step manifestation realm? Ning Yu smiled faintly when he sensed the aura emitted by the Dark Emperor. Do you think Heaven-devouring Hound can advance so easily? The Dark Emperor rolled his eyes at Ning Yu and said, If you devour dozens of martial artists at the peak of the creation realm, I'll help you advance to the creation realm in minutes, and I'll be in the middle stage of the creation realm. Don't. Do you think I'm an honorable realm martial artist with dozens of peak manifestation realm martial artists? Ning Yu waved his hand. Swoosh! At this moment, the Red Devil also rushed out of the storage ring. It's good to have king-grade origin crystals. The Red Devil handed the Red Devil sword to Ning Yu and said, Done! Of course, king-grade origin crystals are good. Ning Yu took the Red Devil sword and kept it in his arms. Then Ning Yu's body gradually became illusory and disappeared in the blink of an eye. The Dark Emperor and the rest followed closely behind Ning Yu and left the painting together. Whoosh! Inside the room, several figures appeared one after another. Silver Winged Dragon, Twin-Horned Beast, Furball, Dark Emperor, the 4 of you go hide in the storage ring. Come out when I arrive at the Corpse Dragon mountain range. Ning Yu kept the painting and threw it into the storage ring. Chapter 8:20. Chapter 8:20. Foolish, haha, you little shrimps also want to go to the Corpse Dragon mountain range? When these words rang out in the room, Ning Yu's expression suddenly turned cold. Papa! At the entrance of the room, a young martial artist clapped his hands and stared at Ning Yu with interest. However, the young martial artist felt the powerful aura exuding from Ning Yu and was slightly shocked. It seems that the information was wrong. You're not at the late yin-yang realm, but at the half-step manifestation realm. Ning Yu ignored the young martial artist and shifted his gaze behind the young martial artist. Behind the young martial artist, there were a total of 7 martial artists, 4 at the peak yin-yang realm, 2 at the half-step manifestation realm, and 1 at the early manifestation realm. Although this lineup was strong, compared to Ning Yu's side, it was a bit weaker. The Silver Winged Dragon and the Twin-Horned Beast were at the early manifestation realm, while the Dark Emperor and Furball were at the half-step manifestation realm. In comparison, only the young martial artist at the entrance had a slight advantage in terms of cultivation. After all, the young martial artist was at the middle manifestation realm. Humph! To be so calm even at death's door, I admire your courage. Zhuo Yan coldly snorted. The young martial artist was Zhuo Yan, the peerless genius of the Nine-Furnace Divine Pavilion's 9th branch. After investigating, Zhuo Yan and the others finally determined Ningyu's location. They originally thought that they would have to spend some effort to find Ningyu, but who would have thought that before they even stepped into the room, they would see Ningyu? This made Zhuo Yan very excited. As long as they could kill Ningyu, Gu Yuan would definitely be happy. At that time, with Gu Yuan's support, wouldn't they have a smooth journey in the Nine-Furnace Divine Pavilion? Wong Wong. Inside the room, Zhuo Yan displayed his anger. In an alley outside the room, a martial artist quietly appeared. If Zhuo Yan and the others were here, they would definitely discover that this martial artist was none other than Tsang Yi, who had a bad relationship with him. Hee, it seems that Zhuo Yan really wants to gain Gu Yuan's trust. The corners of Tsang Yi's mouth rose as he smiled evilly. Kill, kill. The faster the better. At that time, Gu Yuan's rage will not be a joke. No, I must evacuate King City. Suddenly, Tsang Yi seemed to have thought of something and muttered. Gu Yuan is rushing over here at full speed. If Gu Yuan's rage spreads to me, then the gains won't make up for the losses. As his voice faded, Tsang Yi's figure gradually became illusory and finally disappeared. Tsang Yi's movements were so strange that no one noticed him. Kill. Inside the room, Zhuo Yan didn't want to waste his breath with Ningyu anymore. He snorted coldly and was the first to charge towards Ningyu. Voila! Hearing Zhuo Yan's cold words, the 7 cultivators behind him rushed forward. Among them, Chang Songyong's cultivation was at the early stage of the manifestation realm, and he was up against the silver-winged dragon. The other 2 half-step manifestation realm martial artists faced off against the twin horned beasts. As for the 4 peak yin-yang realm martial artists, they split into pairs and fought with the Dark Emperor and Furball. He's actually this strong. As soon as Zhuo Yan attacked, Ningyu could judge that his strength wasn't weak. A middle-stage manifestation realm martial artist was able to erupt with the combat strength of a peak manifestation realm martial artist. This was truly terrifying. As Zhuo Yan rushed towards Ningyu, he coldly said, "Although I don't know how you offended Gu Yuan, I can tell you very clearly that no one in this world can save you." I offended Gu Yuan? Ningyu was puzzled. Suddenly, Ningyu's eyebrows rose up as if he had a sudden realization. You want to help Gu Yuan regain face? It seems that you are also people from the Nine-Furnace Divine Pavilion. Ningyu coldly said. The people of the Nine-Furnace Divine Pavilion are all incomparably overbearing. They are only allowed to kill others, but others are not allowed to kill them. Today you will die. Zhuo Yan interrupted Ningyu's words. His right hand suddenly thrust out, his fist punching towards Ningyu's head. In order to kill Ningyu in a single move and not leave behind any future troubles, Zhuo Yan had used 100% of his strength. Zhuo Yan was a peerless genius of the Nine-Furnace Divine Pavilion. When he was at the early manifestation realm, he had once fought and killed a peak manifestation realm martial artist. Now that he had advanced to the middle manifestation realm, his strength was incomparably formidable. In Zhuo Yan's opinion, if he used 100% of his strength, Ningyu definitely wouldn't be able to withstand it. Haha, to force me to use my full strength, you can be considered to have died a worthy death. Not good. As if he could already see Ningyu's miserable state when he was killed, Zhuo Yan sinisterly smiled. However, before Zhuo Yan's sinister laughter fell, his eyes widened and a look of disbelief crossed his face. Bang! With a clear sound, 2 figures rapidly retreated. Zhuo Yan retreated 5 steps before stabilizing himself. On the other hand, Ningyu only took 3 steps back before he completely stabilized himself. Comparing the two, the difference in superiority was immediately obvious. Impossible. How can your strength be so strong? Zhuo Yan's face darkened. Thinking about it, this was the first time since he had advanced to the middle manifestation realm that he had used 100% of his strength and was still at a disadvantage. Fortunately, his sworn enemy Song-yi was not here, otherwise wouldn't Song-yi laugh at him to death. He was at the middle manifestation realm while the other party was only at the half-step manifestation realm. It could be imagined that once the other party's cultivation rose to the middle manifestation realm and fought him again, it would be an absolutely crushing scene. You have completely angered me. Zhuo Yan took a deep breath, his face revealing an extremely cold expression. Then, the origin energy in Zhuo Yan's body tumbled and gathered in his fist. Zhuo Yan's fist blasted out, once again aiming for Ningyu's head. From where you fall, you have to climb back up. This was Zhuo Yan's style of doing things and also his motto. Again, have you lost your mind? Seeing that Zhuo Yan still wanted to exchange blows with him, Ningyu's mouth opened slightly, a little dumbfounded. When others could not win using this method, they would immediately change to another method. Zhuo Yan, on the other hand, was stubborn to the end with a single method. Fine. A hothead's performance has saved me a lot of trouble. Looking at Zhuo Yan, who was constantly approaching him, the violent origin energy in Ningyu's body swept out and similarly wrapped around his fist, colliding with Zhuo Yan's fist. However, Ningyu was not that kind of hothead. When he and Zhuo Yan both retreated, he immediately drew out the red demon sword and slashed down from the sky with a sword wave. Solitaire. A huge sword wave separated from the red demon sword and instantly arrived in front of Zhuo Yan. Humph! What can a mere sword wave do to me? Zhuo Yan clearly did not take Ningyu's solitaire seriously. He raised his right hand, intending to use his arm to block the solitaire. Ah! In the next moment, Zhuo Yan paid the price for his stupidity. The solitaire was extremely powerful and easily chopped off his right arm. Why? Looking down at his bloody arm on the ground, Zhuo Yan stretched out his left hand and pointed at Ningyu. He even stuttered as he spoke. Why, you actually chopped off my arm. I will grind your bones to dust. I'm going to Poochie. Chapter 821. Corrode! It seems that the people from the 9 Cauldron Divine Pavilion are not only arrogant, but also arrogant. Ningyu shrugged his shoulders and said, At the start they say some bold words, but in the end, they are still defeated by my hands. Damn it. The reason you can win is completely because of your trickery. If you have the guts, wait for me to recuperate and we'll fight again. Zhuo Yan gnashed his teeth. Do I look like a fool to you? Ningyu pointed at his nose and asked. Without waiting for Zhuo Yan to answer, Ningyu changed the topic and coldly said, You can even say such words. If you're not crazy, then you have brain necrosis. Poochie! Hearing Ningyu's ridicule, Zhuo Yan couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood, his aura growing weaker and weaker. Ningyu, as long as you dare to kill me, your friends will also be killed by my companions. Unable to deceive Ningyu, Zhuo Yan turned his attention to the Dark Emperor and the others. TSK, it seems that my expectations were more optimistic. Not only did you lose your mind, but you also have brain necrosis. Ningyu smacked his lips and said, You can see whether your companions are stronger or my friends are stronger. Let's see. I don't believe that your friends are strong. Fuck! As he spoke, Zhuo Yan shifted his gaze to the other side. It would have been fine if he didn't look, but as soon as he did, Zhuo Yan was dumbfounded. This is impossible, absolutely impossible, absolutely impossible. Zhuo Yan's eyes were dull like a fool as he repeatedly said, In fact, It was no wonder that Juyen would have such a reaction. Although his companions were peerless geniuses of the 9-cauldron divine pavilion, the Dark Emperor and the others were also freaks. When a peerless genius met a freak, and a freak among monsters at that, the result could be imagined. The 4-peak yin-yang stage martial artists all died in battle. The 2 half-step manifestation realm martial artists also suffered heavy injuries and were on the verge of death. As for the early manifestation realm Cheng Songyong, because his strength was decent, his injuries were relatively light, and he could barely stand up. Nothing is impossible. The Dark Emperor stood upright on his hind legs and paced back and forth in the room like a scholar. He began to point out the situation. "You have offended us. No one in the world can save you. How about this? The heavens have the virtue of cherishing life. As long as you casually take out a few tens of millions of king-grade origin crystals, I can spare your worthless life." Tens of millions of king-grade origin crystals? Juyen was almost scared to death by the Dark Emperor. Just what sort of concept was tens of millions of royal-grade origin crystals? Even in the 9-furnace divine pavilion, only the high-level figures could take out such a sum. Even if he added up all his assets, it wouldn't amount to that much. There aren't that many king-grade origin crystals. Seeing Zhuo Yan's reaction, the Dark Emperor pondered for a moment before continuing. "This emperor is more benevolent. It doesn't matter if you don't have royal grade essence crystals. You can also use royal grade essence crystals to replace it." Pucci! This time, Juyen was finally unable to restrain himself and spat out a large mouthful of dark red blood once more. "What? You don't even have royal grade origin crystals?" The Dark Emperor's face darkened instantly. His aura gushed forth and pressed down on Juyen. "If you don't have king-grade origin crystals or royal-grade origin crystals, then why should I keep you alive? I might as well devour you." Then the Dark Emperor stomped on the ground and pounced at Juyen like a ferocious dog. "You can't kill me. Gu Yuan is an honorable realm martial artist. If you kill me, Gu Yuan will not let you off." Zhou Yan shouted in the face of the Dark Emperor that was charging at him. "Wait." Ning Yu waved his hand, indicating for the Dark Emperor to retreat first. "How troublesome. Leave these trash to me." The Dark Emperor stopped with a displeased expression. Then he waved his front claws and dragged the remaining 7 martial artists away. Ning Yu did not stop the Dark Emperor. Instead, he came to Zhuo Yan's side and asked indifferently, "What's Gu Yuan's cultivation?" Gu Yuan is a half-step honorable realm martial artist. However, if he can obtain that giant skeleton in the Corpse Dragon Mountain range, he can easily advance to grade 1 human supreme realm. Zhuo Yan did not dare to hide anything and said hurriedly, "Half-step honorable realm martial artist?" Hearing this, Ning Yu was slightly surprised. Back in the imperial family, Ning Yu judged that Gu Yuan's cultivation should be around grade 1 human supreme realm from his doppelgangers. Now, it seemed that his judgment was a little wrong. However, a half-step honorable realm martial artist was already very powerful. At the very least, for the current Ning Yu, only death awaited him. "Right? How did you know that there was a giant skeleton in the Corpse Dragon Mountain range?" Suddenly, Ning Yu asked doubtfully. Logically speaking, the Corpse Een sect would definitely seal the news of them possessing a giant skeleton. How did everyone know about it? The 9 Cauldrons Divine Pavilion is very powerful. We have infiltrated many sections. Zhuo Yan answered honestly. This time there are several branches of the 9 Cauldrons Divine Pavilion that came to snatch the giant skeleton. Currently, it seems that our 9th branch has the greatest advantage. What advantage? Ning Yu asked. The greatest advantage is Gu Yuan. He has already touched the threshold of the human supreme realm and is only a step away from advancing to the honorable realm. Comparatively speaking, the leaders of the other branches are slightly worse. They are only ordinary half-step honorable realm martial artists. Zhuo Yan continued. Is that so? Ningyu frowned and fell into deep thought. With his current strength, it was indeed not good for him to fight Gu Yuan head-on. The only thing he could do now was to hide and wait for an opportunity to act. However, even if he hid, he would have to enter the Corpse Dragon Mountain range first. After all, the giant skeleton was in the Corpse Dragon Mountain range. AI, it's getting more and more complicated. Corpse Insect, 9 Cauldrons Divine Pavilion. I wonder who else will participate. Ningyu sighed. Whoosh! However, just as Ningyu was about to speak, his expression changed, and he hurriedly retreated. Jia, Ningyu, you dare to be careless against a peerless genius of the 9 Cauldrons Divine Pavilion? The heavens are really helping me. Zhuo Yan sinisterly smiled and rushed towards Ningyu. A thick blue gas appeared on Zhuo Yan's only left hand. Although Ningyu didn't know what this blue gas was, he was basically sure that he couldn't touch it with his hand. Stubborn and unchanging. Don't look at Ningyu's shocked expression on the surface, as if he wasn't prepared. But behind his back, Ningyu was constantly paying attention to Zhuo Yan's movements. Especially when he saw Zhuo Yan's sudden attack. Ningyu retreated while taking out the red demon sword and slashing down from the sky. Kacha! Ah, the same scene appeared again. Only this time, the red demon sword did not cut off Zhuo Yan's right arm, but his left arm. A pig-slaughtering scream resounded in the room. Zhuo Yan looked down at his arm that had fallen to the ground, his eyes revealing a look of despair. Chi. What made Zhuo Yan feel even more despair was yet to come. The blue gas on his arm displayed a violent corrosive ability. In just a second, his left arm was completely corroded. Chapter 8:22. Are you kidding me? Xiu. Just as the blue gas corroded Zhuo Yan's left arm, the Dark Emperor flew in from outside the room. As for the 7 martial artists that were taken away by the Dark Emperor, not a single one was left. The Dark Emperor's aura had increased slightly, but it wasn't very obvious. Ningyu, what's going on? Looking at Zhuo Yan, who had lost both his hands, the Dark Emperor asked doubtfully. Nothing much. He just wanted to sneak up on me, Ningyu said lightly. What? Sneak attack? The Dark Emperor's face changed greatly as he berated. I already said that I would kill this trash, but you didn't believe me. Now, this trash actually dared to sneak attack you. Today, let me enforce justice on behalf of the heavens and kill him. Whoosh! After saying that, the Dark Emperor grabbed Zhuo Yan's shoulder and flew out of the room again. Everyone, let's rest first. When the Dark Emperor returns, we'll leave Realm King City. Looking at the back of the Dark Emperor, Ningyu waved his hand and was the first to sit down to recuperate. After a huge battle, everyone had expended a lot of energy. They could take advantage of the time when the Dark Emperor went to devour Zhuo Yan to recuperate and recover to their peak state as soon as possible. Xiu. The Dark Emperor did not let Ningyu and the others wait for too long. 10 minutes later, the Dark Emperor returned without a hitch. Go. Seeing that the Dark Emperor had returned, Ningyu rushed out of the room. The silver winged dragon and the 2-horned beasts all transformed into afterimages as they quickly entered the storage ring. The silver winged dragon and the twin-horned beast were larger in size. At this early stage, it was highly likely that they would cause panic. Entering the storage ring was the most correct choice. As for Fur Ball, for the first time, it didn't pester Ningyu. Instead, it entered the storage ring with the silver winged dragon and the others. *CK, I just got back and you guys are leaving? That's not nice of you. Seeing Ningyu leave, the Dark Emperor revealed an awkward expression. He then stomped on the ground and chased after Ningyu. Sha! On the streets of Realm King City, the 2 figures were extremely fast, one in front and one behind, disappearing in the blink of an eye. What's going on? I think I saw a man and a beast? What man and beast? To be precise, it should be a man and a dog. That's right, and it's a black dog. Ningyu and the Dark Emperor were very fast. They were so fast that when they reached the streets of Realm King City, few people could see their appearances clearly. 3 minutes later, Ningyu and the Dark Emperor stopped at the city gates of Realm King City. The reason why Ningyu and the Dark Emperor stopped was not because they had something to do, but because the city gates of the Realm King City were tightly shut and there were 2 guards guarding the city gates. Most importantly, the 2 guards had very high cultivations. Later stage of the Blessed Realm, it might be difficult for outsiders to determine the guards' true cultivation bases, but Ningyu knew very well that the 2 guards were in the later stage of Blessed Realm. There was even a martial artist at the peak of the Manifestation Realm on the city gate tower. What happened? Is there a need to send a martial artist in the later stage of the Manifestation Realm to guard the city gate? If Ningyu could determine the true cultivation of the guard, the Dark Emperor would naturally be able to as well. The Dark Emperor was very puzzled. Nothing big had happened recently, so why would they send people to guard the city gate? Nothing big happened yet. Ningyu's face was full of black lines. Corpse Sex Jin Juelong, Ching Chi, Sujia, and Qiu Jian were all killed by us. Ningyu rolled his eyes and said, "Moreover, the soul tree that the corpse sect yearned for was also obtained by us. Do you think the corpse sect will seal the city gate?" "If that's the case, it's possible." The Dark Emperor nodded. "It's not just possible, it's 100% possible." Ningyu continued, "If there is no big accident, the other experts of the corpse sect must be carefully investigating the Realm King City. Their target is definitely us." Don't, Ningyu, the corpse sect's target is you. The main force that killed Jin Juelong and the others is you. Don't drag me into this." The Dark Emperor slightly moved away from Ningyu and said, "You're very strong. In my opinion, you should lead the way and blast open the gate of the Realm King City. Then we'll go to the Great Hill Royal City." "Idiot." Ningyu rolled his eyes at the Dark Emperor and immediately turned into an alley. The Dark Emperor stood in place and didn't go in. After a while, Ningyu came out of the alley. "What the hell? You are Ningyu?" Seeing the stranger in front of him, the Dark Emperor was surprised. "Don't talk nonsense. If you don't want to be exposed, quickly enter the storage ring and let's sneak out." After saying this, Ningyu walked toward the gate of the Realm King City without looking back. It's really a case of a tiger being bullied by a dog. No, it should be a dog being bullied by a tiger. No, it should be an emperor being bullied by a human. Yes, there's nothing wrong with that. The Dark Emperor nodded secretly, then followed Ningyu's instructions and obediently entered the storage ring. You, and you, the 4 of you stay." Just as Ningyu approached the gate, one of the slightly fat guards pointed at the 4 young martial artists and said coldly, "Routine inspection." "We are all good people." Among the 4 young martial artists, the peak of the primal core stage martial artist said, "Crack." As soon as the peak of the primal core stage martial artist said this, his eyes widened and revealed a look of disbelief. "So noisy. Good people my ass. People who talk too much should die." The slightly fat guard grabbed the peak of the primal core stage martial artist's neck with his left hand and directly broke it. "I said that it's a routine inspection, but you force me to kill people. How stupid. We accept the inspection. Accept the inspection." Seeing that their leader had been killed, the other 3 martial artists hurriedly said. However, before the other 3 martial artists had finished speaking, they each spat out a large mouthful of blood and fell backward. Bang, bang, bang. The sound of 3 bodies hitting the ground rang out. Instantly, the surroundings were silent. It was so quiet that even breathing could be heard. "You don't take my words seriously? I already told you not to talk so much nonsense, but you still dared to do this. You deserve to be killed." The slightly fat guard kicked the 3 young martial artists to the other side, and his eyes suddenly fell on Ningyu. "You, come over, routine inspection." Ning Yu did not speak, but silently walked in front of the slightly fat martial artist. You are from the Realm King City? The slightly fat martial artist used his perception to probe Ning Yu's body for a while and then asked, Yes. Ning Yu's answer was very simple, and there was only one word to it. Oh, I like this kind of person who speaks so cleanly. The slightly fat martial artist raised an eyebrow and continued, Since I am very satisfied with your answers, you don't have to die. Thank you. Ning Yu nodded slightly and then walked out of the city gate. Hey, who said you can leave? Seeing that Ning Yu was about to leave, the slightly fat martial artist waved his hand, indicating for Ning Yu to stop. Ning Yu stopped in his tracks, right in the middle of the city gate. Although I said that I don't want you to die, I never said that I would let you go. The slightly fat martial artist thought for a moment, then said in a clear voice, Chapter 8:23. His face darkened. Uft. In the storage ring, the Dark Emperor could not help but laugh when he heard the words of the slightly plump warrior. Take off all his clothes? And in front of so many people. How could he even think of such a thing? Needless to say, Ning Yu would definitely not do it. You can do a routine check, but isn't it a little too much to ask me to take off my clothes? Ning Yu's face was a little gloomy as he stared at the slightly plump warrior. If I'm not wrong, you're not from Realm King City. What right do you have to ask me to take off my clothes? What right do I have? The slightly plump warrior was a little confused. If you were a late-stage creation state cultivator, then it would be understandable for you to say such things. After all, you were strong. The key was that you were only an early-stage primal core cultivator. How dare you be so arrogant? Is he stupid? Didn't he see how the 4 primal core cultivators died? If he's not stupid, then there's something wrong with his brain. Let's not go out, lest we get in trouble. Yes, we can't leave Realm King City for the next few days. It won't be too late for us to leave after these guards leave. Some of the warriors who were closer to the city gates retreated. They knew very well that once they angered the slightly plump warrior, the consequences would be unimaginable. He was a fierce person who could easily kill a peak primal core cultivator with one move. His strength was at least of the yin-yang state, or even the peak of the yin-yang state. Kid, I'll show you whether I have the right to ask you to take off your clothes. The slightly plump warrior's expression was cold. After a low growl, he clenched his right fist and rushed straight at Ning Yu. The purpose of the slightly plump warrior was clear. It was not to kill Ning Yu, but to teach Ning Yu a lesson. In order to not kill Ning Yu in one move, the slightly plump warrior only used 10% of his strength. In the eyes of the slightly plump warrior, even 10% of his strength was enough to seriously injure Ning Yu. Faced with the slightly plump warrior, Ning Yu's expression was emotionless. He punched out and collided with the fist of the slightly plump warrior. Bang! The 2 fists collided, and a crisp sound rang out. In the end, it was not as the slightly plump cultivator had thought, where Ning Yu was heavily injured in one move. Instead, both sides were evenly matched. In fact, strictly speaking, the slightly plump martial artist was at a slight disadvantage. After all, Ning Yu did not move from his spot. The slightly plump martial artist took half a step back. Is this all you've got? Ning Yu frowned and said hesitantly, Those with strength can act tough. You are so weak. What right do you have to act tough here? Caw. Hearing Ning Yu's sarcastic words, the slightly plump cultivator clenched his fists so hard that they made cracking sounds. A ferocious look appeared on his face. Shameful, truly shameful. He was a warrior in the advanced stage of the creation stage, and yet he had not been able to gain the upper hand against a warrior in the early primal core stage. How embarrassing. This kid has some ability. Bring him here. Just as the slightly plump cultivator was about to attack a second time, he heard a calm voice from the city tower. Hearing that, the slightly plump cultivator took a deep breath and leaped forward like a cheetah. TSK, TSK. This time, the slightly plump cultivator did not dare to act tough anymore. He used 100% of his strength. The slightly plump cultivator was in the advanced stage of the creation stage. His 100% punch caused the surrounding air to disperse. Ningyu, do you need my help? The Dark Emperor laid lazily in his storage ring and asked. Yes, come out and help me defeat him. Ningyu said solemnly, Holy SH*T. The Dark Emperor leaped up, feeling like he had just been F***ed. Isn't this too much? I just said it casually and you actually took it seriously. Actually, Ningyu had given the Dark Emperor a lot of thought before asking him to attack. Ningyu wanted to see if the Dark Emperor's true strength could go against a late-stage creation stage warrior after devouring so many warriors. Sure, one Shenyang pill. The Dark Emperor gritted his teeth and darted out of his storage ring. The Dark Emperor was extremely fast, even faster than the slightly plump cultivator. What the hell? Initially, the slightly plump cultivator was very confident. That was because his 100% strength punch was extremely heaven-defying. However, when the slightly plump cultivator saw a black dog darting out from Ningyu's body, he was completely stunned. Even though he was stunned, the slightly plump cultivator still punched out instinctively and collided with the black dog's front paw. Shing! The Dark Emperor's claws were extremely sharp. The moment it came into contact with the slightly plump cultivator's fist, a layer of skin was torn off. Ah! With his skin torn off, the slightly plump cultivator let out a hysterical scream. Air! Ningyu felt a little incredulous when he saw the Dark Emperor gaining the upper hand with a single move. Not long ago, the Dark Emperor could only fight against mid-stage creation stage warriors. After devouring a few warriors, his strength had increased by leaps and bounds. If this were to continue, the Dark Emperor might not even need to devour dozens of peak creation stage warriors. He only needed to devour 2 or 3 of them to fight against peak creation stage warriors. You must have a death wish. Beside the slightly plump cultivator, the slightly skinny cultivator's eyes widened as he hollered coldly. He rose from the ground and charged towards the Dark Emperor. The slightly skinny cultivator was also at late-stage creation stage, and his overall strength was slightly stronger than the slightly plump cultivator. Bang! He attacked and forced the Dark Emperor back with a single move. Humph! If not for the fact that I've expended too much energy, killing you would have been a piece of cake. The Dark Emperor retreated to Ningyu's side and harumphed coldly. Ningyu's face darkened. What did he mean by expending too much energy? That move of yours just now only tore off the skin on the slightly plump cultivator's hand. You didn't use too much energy. If this is called expending too much energy, I'm afraid you'll have to give it your all in any battle. Dark Emperor, retreat first. Leave this skinny guy to me. Ningyu kicked the Dark Emperor to the other side and immediately grabbed at the void with both hands, creating 2 palm prints in an instant. Life and death palm. 2 blood-red palm prints appeared in the air. One of them attacked the slightly skinny cultivator, while the other attacked the slightly plump cultivator. Oh no! Uffed! Looking at the blood-red palm prints that were coming at him continuously, the slightly plump cultivator hurriedly raised his palm to block. However, the slightly plump cultivator had clearly forgotten that the skin on his hand had already been torn off by the Dark Emperor. Now that he was struck by the blood-red palm print, he let out another tragic cry like a pig being slaughtered. Plop! After the tragic cry, the slightly plump cultivator's body fell straight to the back. Looking at the miserable state of the slightly plump cultivator, the slightly skinny cultivator gritted his teeth and the vitality in his body surged. It wrapped around his wrist and also blasted out a blood-red palm print. Gotcha! However, the blood-red palm print of the slightly skinny cultivator was obviously not on the same level as Ningyu's. Although both were palm prints, the blood-red palm print of Ningyu's attack was several times more powerful than the slightly skinny cultivator's. The cracking sound also proved the power of Ningyu's palm print. Seeing that his palm print had been blasted away, the slightly skinny cultivator bent his legs slightly, and a violent vitality appeared on his palm. Uft. Chapter 824. Swoosh! You guessed wrong. The slightly skinny and slightly fat martial artists were both defeated, causing Yan Mo, who was on the city tower, to stand up with a swoosh, pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger. Yan Mo frowned slightly, then tore the void and disappeared. Chi-chi! The moment Yan Mo disappeared, Ningyu felt the space around him tremble. Retreat! Ningyu reminded the Dark Emperor, then rose from the ground and quickly retreated. F***CK. Actually, there was no need for Ningyu to remind him. The Dark Emperor had long noticed that something was wrong. The moment the space trembled, the Dark Emperor scampered backward. The Dark Emperor and Ningyu had just taken a few steps back when a figure suddenly appeared in front of them. Yan Mo! Seeing the martial artist who suddenly appeared, before Ningyu and the Dark Emperor could say anything, the slightly fat martial artist and the slightly thin martial artist shouted in unison. It is indeed a martial artist at the peak of the manifestation realm. Ningyu took a deep breath and tried hard to calm himself down. Although after advancing to the half-step manifestation realm, Ningyu's strength had a qualitative leap, and he had also killed the peak of the manifestation realm Gene Absolute Dragon. However, the Yan Mo in front of him was much stronger than Gene Absolute Dragon. Without considering the trump card, 2 Gene Absolute Dragons might not be a match for Yan Mo. Trash! Go back and reflect on yourself. Yan Mo glared fiercely at the slightly thin and slightly fat martial artists and berated. I told you long ago that you can't be careless no matter who you meet, or else you might suffer a loss. You just didn't listen. Do you know how Gene Absolute Dragon and Qiu Jian died? It was because they were too arrogant that they didn't tell me in time when they discovered something. That's why they ended up dying. After being scolded by Yan Mo, the slightly fat martial artist and the slightly thin martial artist did not dare to breathe loudly and listen obediently. Yan Mo was their immediate superior. Besides, whether they could take revenge or not depended on Yan Mo. What's your name? Why are you behaving atrociously here? After berating him, Yan Mo turned around and stared at Ningyu. He said calmly, also, what is your cultivation? What is your identity? Tell me everything. There is no need to hide. There is no point in trying to play these tricks before me. 4 or 5 questions. Which one should I start with? Ningyu shrugged and said, since you can guess my cultivation, why bother asking me? Humph. You're about to die, yet you still dare to play tricks. Demon Yan snorted coldly and said, don't think that I don't know what your cultivation is. If I'm not wrong, you should be at the peak of the creation realm like me. Voila! As soon as Yan Mo's voice fell, a series of exclamations rang out in the surroundings. Is he at the peak of the creation realm? No wonder he could defeat the 2 guards with one move. So he is at the peak of the fate realm. As expected, he hid his strength well. The world has changed. In the past, even half-step creation realm martial artists were rarely seen in World King City. Recently, not only have there been more and more early-stage creation realm martial artists, but there are also more and more peak-stage creation realm martial artists. Yes, I'm afraid Yuan Dan realm martial artists like us will have a hard time in the future. After the exclamations, the crowd sighed. Ning, you did not care whether the crowd sighed or not. He waved his hand and said, Yen Mo, it seems that I have overestimated you. You overestimated me? Don't play tricks here. Even if you are at the peak of the creation realm, you will not be able to escape death, Yen Mo said coldly. No, no, no. You are wrong. Very wrong. Ning Yu stretched out his finger and shook it. He said, I am not at the peak of the creation realm. At this point, Ning Yu paused for a moment. Then, Ning Yu's aura instantly exploded. Boom! The aura shot into the sky and disappeared in a flash. He is indeed at the peak of the creation realm. At such a young age, his cultivation has already reached the peak of the creation realm. How incredible will he be in a few decades? Won't he become the first supreme realm martial artist in the great Xia kingdom? I was still wondering if he was at the peak of the creation realm just now. Now it seems that I was overthinking. He is indeed at the peak of the creation realm. It would have been better if Ning Yu did not reveal his aura. Once his aura was revealed, a fact was confirmed in everyone's heart. He was at the peak of the creation realm. Hiss! The crowd could not see through Ning Yu's true cultivation, but Yen Mo could see it clearly. Half-step creation realm. Yen Mo naturally realized that Ning Yu was only at the half-step creation realm. After knowing Ning Yu's true cultivation, Yen Mo felt his face burning up, as if his face had been slapped so loudly. Your guess level is not good. Why don't I guess your identity? The corner of Ning Yu's mouth rose. He stared at Yen Mo and said in a clear voice, Yen Mo, peak of the creation realm, a member of the Corpsine sect. Boom! Ning Yu's last sentence was like a bomb that completely exploded in this area. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. At first, it was still fine. Everyone was not too far away from the Realm King's city's gate. Now that they heard Ning Yu's words, everyone moved away from the Realm King's city's gate. In the great Xia kingdom, all the martial artists would change their expressions when they heard the words corpse insect. A bunch of nonsense. Yen Mo shouted in a low voice and immediately grabbed at the void. Immediately, a ball of essence chi light was caught in his hand. Go! As Yen Mo shouted, the ball of essence chi light in his hand attacked and flew towards Ning Yu. All the martial artists of the Corpse Insect, who rushed over from the great hill royal city, come here! Yen Mo was not a fool. For Ning Yu to be able to burst out with the aura of a peak of the creation realm with his half-step creation realm cultivation, it was enough to show how powerful Ning Yu was. To deal with such a peerless genius, they should gather everyone's strength and completely defeat him. Once this kind of genius had the chance to make a comeback, the consequences would be unimaginable. Go! Facing the ball of essence chi light, Ning Yu did not choose to fight it head-on. Instead, he used his spells and immediately rushed out of the Realm King city. Not good. He wants to go to Duga Forest. Seeing Ning Yu escape, Yen Mo's expression changed drastically. He quickly tore the void and chased after him. Outside the Realm King city, the direction in which Ning Yu escaped was the direction where Duga Forest was. Duga Forest was the most mysterious forest around the Realm King city. There were rumors that there was a teleportation array in Duga Forest that could directly teleport to the Corpse Dragon Mountain Range. There were even rumors that the deepest part of Duga Forest was a treasure land with all kinds of precious herbs. Of course, these were all rumors and had no way to verify them. However, in the past, there were two families in the Realm King city, the Zhao family and the Hu family. At that time, the Hu family was even more powerful than the Zhao family. It was because of a wrong decision made by the Hu family's ancestor that led to the rapid decline of the Hu family and gradually withdrew from the stage of history. The wrong decision made by the Hu family's ancestor was to mobilize the entire family to go deep into Duga Forest. In the end, no one survived. Russell. At this time in Duga Forest, a man and a beast were rushing forward. The man was Ning Yu, and the beast was the Dark Emperor. Why do I feel that something is wrong? Chapter 8:25. Dug a forest, what's wrong? Ning Yu looked at the Dark Emperor with a frown. I'm not sure yet. Anyway, my heart skipped a beat just now. The Dark Emperor shook his head and said solemnly, be careful from now on. There might be something strange in this forest. Yes, I know. To be honest, it was the first time Ning Yu saw the Dark Emperor being so solemn. In the past, no matter how strange it was, the Dark Emperor would not be like this. Since the Dark Emperor was like this, it meant that there must be something in the depths of the forest that he was afraid of or concerned about. Whoosh! At this moment, a figure approached from afar and appeared in front of Ning Yu and the Dark Emperor in an instant. Good thing we didn't go into the depths of Duga Forest. After appearing, Yen Mo took a deep breath and murmured as if he was relieved of a heavy burden. This forest is called Duga Forest. Although Yen Mo's voice was very low, Ning Yu still heard it. There must be something strange in Duga Forest. Hearing Yen Mo's words and combining the Dark Emperor's reaction just now, Ning Yu keenly realized that there might be something related to the Corpse-Een sect in the depths of Duga Forest. Moreover, that thing was something that the Corpse-Een sect valued greatly. Thinking of this, Ning Yu said calmly, Yen Mo, what are you trying to do by chasing me all the way from the regional king city? What am I trying to do? Do I need to say it? Of course, it's to take your dog life, Yen Mo said coldly. Take my life? Just you alone? Ning Yu asked doubtfully. Ha ha ha. I don't need anyone else's help to kill you. Yen Mo threw his head back and laughed wildly. Then he changed the topic and said sinisterly, Besides, you are also alone. Let's fight one-on-one and rely on our own abilities. No, you're wrong again. Ning Yu waved his hands at the same time and said, Come out and let Yen Mo know that I'm not fighting alone. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Hearing Ning Yu's words, the silver-winged dragon, the twin horns beast, and even Furball flew out from the storage ring. A half-step creation realm useless dog and 2 early-stage creation realm demonic beasts. Yen Mo was still as calm as ever as he said indifferently, I'm afraid these pieces of trash won't even be able to block a single move from me. Sigh, there are so many arrogant people. Ning Yu sighed softly and said, Do you think I escaped from World King City because I am afraid of you? Now, I'll tell you the truth. The reason why I came here from World King City is because I don't want to expose my strength in front of so many people. Cut the crap, hand over your life. Yen Mo didn't want to waste time with Ning Yu here. If Ning Yu discovered the secret in the depths of Duga Forest and caused trouble, Yen Mo would have to die in the line of duty. So Yen Mo used 100% of his strength in this punch for the sake of killing Ning Yu with a single punch. Ning Yu, you deal with Yen Mo here first. I have to leave now. Before Ning Yu's fist could meet Yen Mo's, the Dark Emperor stomped on the ground with his hind legs and dashed out like a bolt of lightning. He was heading towards the depths of Duga Forest. Silver-winged dragon, twin-horned beast, Furball, follow the Dark Emperor. Seeing the Dark Emperor's actions, Ning Yu hurriedly instructed, Swoosh! As demonic beasts, the silver-winged dragon and the other 2 sensed a terrifying aura. Furball, in particular, did not need Ning Yu's reminder at all. He was the first to follow behind the Dark Emperor and disappear. Swoosh! Swoosh! The silver-winged dragon and twin-horned beast gritted their teeth, as if they had made a huge sacrifice and followed closely behind Furball. Damn it! Yen Mo's powerful punch had originally wanted to kill Ning Yu. However, when he saw the Dark Emperor and the other demonic beasts rushing towards the depths of Duga Forest, his expression changed drastically. After cursing under his breath, he hurriedly turned around and chased after them. Yen Mo, your opponent, is me. Before the outcome of the battle is decided, it's best that you don't go over. Ning Yu's figure flashed and blocked Yen Mo's path. I advise you to move aside. Yen Mo threw a punch. Instantly, a violent fist aura tore through the air and blasted towards Ning Yu's head. As Yen Mo's attention was on the Dark Emperor and the others, he only used half of his strength in this punch. Yen Mo's punch with half of his strength definitely could not defeat Ning Yu. In fact, he could not even touch Ning Yu's body. The more anxious you are, the more I won't let you go over. Ning Yu's eyes turned cold. He flipped his wrist and took out the Red Devil Sword. Solitaire! Ning Yu waved the Red Devil Sword repeatedly, and in an instant he slashed out several sword waves. The power of each sword wave was extremely strong, forcing Yen Mo to pay 120% of his attention. Brat, you forced me to do this. Yen Mo clenched his fists. He opened his mouth and spat out a gas. This is dead spirit chi? Seeing the gas floating in front of Yen Mo, Ning Yu said hesitantly, At least you know what's good for you. It's your honor to be corroded by the dead spirit chi. Yen Mo sneered and then pushed his hands forward, pushing the dead spirit chi towards Ning Yu. As expected of the higher-ups of the corpse sect, the power of your dead spirit chi is even stronger than Jin Absolute Dragon's. Ning Yu curled his lips. Then Ning Yu shook his head and said, Unfortunately, I can kill Jin Absolute Dragon. I can also kill you. As soon as the word kill was said, Ning Yu swung the Red Devil Sword in his hand. Jin Absolute Dragon? You killed Jin Absolute Dragon. At first, Yen Mo was a little confused. However, he quickly reacted, and his face was full of shock. Yen Mo knew that Jin Absolute Dragon was killed, but he didn't know who killed Jin Absolute Dragon. Originally, Yen Mo thought that Jin Absolute Dragon must have been killed by an expert of the Soul Sect. After all, Chu Guang, who was trapped by Jin Absolute Dragon, was from the Soul Sect. However, when Yen Mo heard Ning Yu's words, he suddenly realized something. It turned out that the martial artist who killed Jin Absolute Dragon was not from the Soul Sect. It was this half-step manifestation realm kid in front of him. No, could it be that you are from the Soul Sect? Suddenly, Yen Mo seemed to think of something and said in horror, Chi. However, before Yen Mo could get a reply from Ning Yu, his eyes widened and his face was full of disbelief. Yen Mo realized that the dead spirit chi that he had sent out in the air was actually swallowed by the blood-red flying sword. Yen Mo was a little confused. One should know that his dead spirit chi could be ranked among the top in the corpse sect. How could it be swallowed so easily? Yen Mo, since I can kill Jin Absolute Dragon, it means that I have a way to refine his dead spirit chi. Ning Yu put away the Red Devil Sword and said indifferently, If you lose the dead spirit chi, your strength will drop by at least 10 to 20%. How are you going to fight me? On the surface, Ning Yu was very confident, but secretly Ning Yu was very careful and secretly communicated with the Red Devil. Red Devil, I will give you all the Shenyang pills produced by the flower bud. How long will it take for you to refine the dead spirit chi? The flower bud doesn't produce too many Shenyang pills. Even if you give them all to me, I will need 3 hours to refine the dead spirit chi, the Red Devil replied. No, 3 hours is too long. Ning Yu said in a deep voice, Is there any other way? Although Yen Mo's strength did not decrease because of the dead spirit chi, Ning Yu's strength also decreased because he did not have the Red Devil Sword. Without the Red Devil Sword, Ning Yu could at most contend with Yen Mo. It would be very difficult to kill him. Chapter 826. Just in time there is a way, but the Red Devil gritted his teeth and said, not to refine the dead spirit energy, but to seal it in the red devil's sword. I'll leave this to you. I'll block Yan Mo first, Ning Yu said in a low voice. With my strength, I can only seal the dead spirit energy for 3 minutes at most. After 3 minutes, the dead spirit energy will definitely break the seal. The red devil said again, at that time, if we can't find a way to suppress it, it will break the red devil sword or explode in the red devil sword. 3 minutes, huh? Ning Yu took a deep breath, his expression solemn. Logically speaking, it would be very difficult for Ning Yu to kill Yan Mo in 3 minutes. But now that things had come to this, he had no other choice. He could only fight with his life on the line. The next moment, Ning Yu took out the red devil sword that he had put away long ago, and the primordial chi in his sea of consciousness was frantically injected into the red devil sword. Buzz! With the injection of primordial chi, the red devil sword let out a buzzing sound. Ding! When the buzzing sound reached its peak, Ning Yu's legs bent slightly. With the sword in front and his body behind, he charged at Yan Mo like a cheetah. Kid, you forced me to do this. Looking at Ning Yu, who was constantly approaching him, Yan Mo's eyes shone brightly. After a low shout, Yan Mo flicked his sleeves, and a silver-white whip appeared in his hand in an instant. Crack! Yan Mo quickly waved the whip in his hand, making cracking sounds. God Striking Whip. The whip that Yan Mo took out was called the God Striking Whip, a middle-grade king level Dharma treasure. The God Striking Whip had a special characteristic. It was tough, comparable to the body of a warrior at the peak of the creation realm. Ordinary Dharma treasures and flying swords could not affect it at all. Kid, I want to see whether the flying sword in your hand is stronger, or my God Striking Whip is stronger. The corners of Yan Mo's mouth curled up, and the God Striking Whip quickly lashed out to meet the red devil sword. Swoosh! However, what happened next caused Yan Mo's pupils to shrink, and he could not help but retreat. Ning Yu raised his sword and slashed at the God Striking Whip. The sword and the whip collided. What Yan Mo had expected did not happen. Instead, the deity striking whip was broken by the flying sword in Ning Yu's hand. Yan Mo opened his mouth slightly as he looked at the small section of the whip that had fallen to the ground. His face was filled with confusion. The deity striking whip was a middle-grade king rank magic treasure. Yet it was broken just like that? A flying sword that could cut the deity striking whip in half. Did that mean that the red flying sword in Ning Yu's hand had reached the emperor level? When he thought of this, Demon Yan's face burned with passion. The God Striking Whip was only a mid-grade, king-grade magic treasure, so losing it was losing it. If he could obtain a monarch-grade flying sword, then everything would be worth it. Brat, hand over the flying sword in your hand, and I can leave your corpse intact, Yan Mo said coldly as he threw the remaining half of the God Striking Whip to the side. Noisy! Ning Yu knew very well what he had to do. The Red Fiend could only seal the dead spirit chi for 3 minutes. After 3 minutes, the dead spirit chi might very well break the Red Fiend sword. There was only 3 minutes left for Ning Yu. There was not much time to begin with. How could Ning Yu possibly waste time talking nonsense with Yan Mo here? Therefore, after Ning Yu said this, he gripped the Red Fiend's sword again and charged at Yan Mo humph, refusing a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Yan Mo snorted coldly. He fully unleashed the aura of a peak creation realm and pressed down on Ning Yu. At the same time, in order to quickly defeat Ning Yu, Yan Mo wrapped all the primordial chi in his body around his wrist. His fist brought along an extremely violent primordial chi gale as it ruthlessly slammed towards Ning Yu's head. The power of Yan Mo's punch was extremely great. It could be said to be the most powerful move he could execute at this stage. In the past, Yan Mo had used this move to easily kill martial artists of the same level. He first used his aura to oppress the other party, then combined it with the primordial chi in his body to deliver a shocking punch. Your oppressive aura is useless against me. The primordial chi in Ning Yu's consciousness churned. The primordial chi on his right fist was no less than that on Yen Mo's fist. The oppressive aura of a supreme martial artist might be able to affect Ningyu. However, Ningyu did not take the oppressive aura of a peak creation realm seriously at all. Palm of life and death. When the primordial chi on his fist had gathered to its peak, Ningyu suddenly opened his fist into a palm and grabbed at Yen Mo's fist. Don't think that you can block this punch of mine just because your palm defeats my fist. To tell you the truth, if you think that way, you are dreaming and deceiving yourself with primordial chi, Yen Mo said sinisterly. Is that so? Just as his palm was about to collide with Yen Mo's fist, a smile appeared at the corners of Ningyu's lips. Ningyu's sudden action caused Yen Mo's heart to skip a beat. He faintly felt that something was wrong. However, Yen Mo was a martial artist at the peak of the creation realm. He had a firm will. He shook his head and tried hard to calm himself down. Then, Yen Mo's fist unavoidably collided with Ningyu's palm. Bam! A muffled sound rang out. The huge force that came from the palm caused Ningyu's pupils to shrink slightly. Pain appeared on his face. Ha ha ha, boy, your fate has long been decided. Fighting with me, you are destined not to have a good ending. Seeing Ningyu's appearance, Yen Mo laughed wildly at the sky. Puff! However, just as Yen Mo's arrogant laughter fell, a crisp sound rang out in the area. Yen Mo had wanted to say something, but when he heard this crisp sound, he was instantly dumbfounded. Yen Mo lowered his head and looked at the blood-red flying sword that had pierced into his heart at some point. His eyes widened and his mouth opened. He extended his palm and pointed at Ningyu, saying in disbelief, "How is this possible?" Puff! Ningyu kicked Yen Mo's body and used the force to retreat rapidly. Yen Mo, nothing is impossible in this world. Where there is desire, there is weakness. Ningyu wiped the blood off the red demon sword and said calmly, "You want this flying sword of mine. This is desire. Desire has blinded your eyes, causing you to only notice when the flying sword pierced into your heart. Impossible. Absolutely impossible." As Yen Mo spoke, he retreated backward. "You want to leave?" Ningyu naturally knew what Yen Mo was planning. However, he did not plan to let Yen Mo go. Against a martial artist at the peak of the creation realm, he had to kill him on the spot. Moreover, he had to kill him until nothing was left. Go. As soon as he said he would, Ningyu quickly threw out the red demon sword in his hand. Whoosh! The red demon sword drew a beautiful arc in midair. Under Yen Mo's almost despairing gaze, it drew closer and closer to him. No. Puff! Yen Mo let out a hysterical scream. The next moment, the scream came to an abrupt end. Yen Mo opened his mouth, slightly, wanting to say something. However, he suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood and fell backward with an indignant expression. Puff, puff! The red demon sword pierced into Yen Mo's chest. In a short few seconds, Yen Mo had been devoured into a skeleton. Crack! Ningyu waved his hand and a strong gust of wind blew, turning Yen Mo's remaining skeleton into nothing. 3 minutes, just right. Chapter 8:27. Hidden Hall. Rustle. Rustle. As soon as Ningyu destroyed Yen Mo's skeleton, a series of rustling sounds came from the surroundings. 10 martial artists. Ningyu's expression was slightly solemn. On the other side, he felt at least 10 powerful auras. Among them, the lowest aura was at the early stage of the manifestation realm, and the highest was at the peak stage of the manifestation realm. Moreover, the peak stage manifestation realm martial artist was much stronger than Yen Mo. Let's go! After the battle just now, Ningyu had consumed a lot of energy. Moreover, the red demon sword needed at least 2 to 3 hours to be used. Therefore, Ningyu made a prompt decision and disappeared in a flash. Swoosh! 10 minutes later, a group of 10 martial artists appeared. No one. Among the 10 martial artists, an old man at the peak stage of the manifestation realm frowned. What the hell is Yen Mo doing? After a while, the old man at the peak stage of the manifestation realm said in a deep voice, "Leave 2 people here to guard this place, other than the people of the corpse sect. No one is allowed to step into Dugu Forest." As the old man's voice fell, he tore through the void and flew toward the depths of Dugu Forest. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh! Behind the old man, 7 martial artists moved in unison, following closely behind him and disappearing without a trace. Buzz! Not long after the group of people from the corpse sect left, the space in this area cracked again. Then 9 martial artists slowly walked out of the void. Hiss! Seeing the 9 martial artists that suddenly appeared, especially the young man who led the group, the 2 early-stage manifestation realm martial artists from the corpse sect couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. Half-step Supreme Being Realm. The young man who led the group had reached the terrifying half-step Supreme Being Realm. He was only 1 step away from advancing to the true Supreme Being Realm. One had to know that even in the corpse sect, half-step Supreme Being Realm martial artists were the absolute upper echelons. How could the 2 martial artists from the corpse sect not be afraid? In fact, the 2 martial artists from the corpse sect were trembling all over and had the urge to kneel down. Sang-yi, is the news reliable? Did Ning-yu really enter Dugu Forest? The young man at the half-step Supreme Being Realm said in a deep voice with a gloomy face. Reliable, absolutely reliable. Sang-yi patted his chest and said, "I can guarantee with my life that Ning-yu has definitely entered Dugu Forest." "There's no need for you to guarantee it. I'll know once I ask." The half-step supremacy realm young man waved his hand as he stared at the cultivator of the corpse sect and said, "Is Ning-yu in the solitary forest?" "Ning-yu? I don't." Uft. Hearing this, one of the corpse-een sect cultivators said. However, before this corpse sect cultivator could finish speaking, his head was separated from his body. "I don't wish to hear any nonsense." The half-step Supreme Being pointed at another cultivator and said in a deep voice, seeing their companion being killed so easily, the remaining corpse sect cultivators felt their legs go soft. "Ning-yu is in solitary forest." The remaining corpse-een sect cultivator's voice suddenly stopped. "You." He pointed his finger at the young man who was half a step to Supreme Being. He wanted to say something, but before he could say anything, he fell to the ground and died on the spot. "Get rid of them." After saying this, the half-step Supreme Being rose from the ground and rushed straight into the depths of solitary forest. After dealing with the 2 corpse sect cultivators, Sang-yi and the others immediately moved and disappeared in an instant. Whoosh! 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 After Sang-yi and the others disappeared, a few more groups of people stopped in this area. However, the people behind them only stopped for a moment before they went deeper into solitary forest. Ning, you didn't know that so many people had gone to solitary forest. At this moment, he was jumping back and forth in solitary forest at his fastest speed. As he went deeper into solitary forest, the uneasiness in Ning-yu's heart became stronger and stronger. In the end, Ning-yu didn't even hesitate to burn his blood essence to increase his speed. While Ning-yu was moving at full speed, the scene in the depths of solitary forest was completely different. Who could imagine that there was a luxurious palace in a forest full of trees? Just from its appearance, one could tell that this palace was built a long time ago. TSK, what an unexpected harvest. At this moment, inside the palace, a skinny old man laughed sinisterly. This place is already very secretive. Furthermore, There are layers of formations protecting it. I didn't expect you guys to be able to come here. Looks like today is indeed my auspicious day. Auspicious day my ass. Opposite the skeletal old man, there were a total of 4 martial artists. No, to be precise, there were 4 demonic beasts. If Ningyi was here, he would definitely realize that the 4 demonic beasts were the Dark Emperor and the others. The Dark Emperor's expression was cold as he stared at the huge skeleton behind the old man and said coldly, "I advise you to stop the formation. Otherwise, I'll let you know. Hold it right there. Forgive me for asking, but do you think a few small fries like you can order me around?" The skeleton old man waved his hand and interrupted the Dark Emperor before speaking indifferently. Rumble. Following this, the old man unleashed his aura. Pucci! Pucci! As soon as the old man unleashed his aura, the Dark Emperor and the others couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. Grade 1 Supreme Being. The Dark Emperor's face was filled with fear and despair. No. No, not a Grade 1 Supreme Being. He's just a half-step Supreme Being. Suddenly, the Dark Emperor seemed to have thought of something and said in a deep voice, "The reason why you can unleash the aura of a Grade 1 Supreme Being is because of the huge skeleton behind you. The skeleton of the heaven-devouring hound." "Hee. You're a smart, heaven-devouring hound." The old man smiled and said, "Initially, I was worried that I would be weak for a period of time after refining the heaven-devouring hound skeleton. It seems like the heavens are on my side. As long as I devour and refine you guys, I can avoid that period of weakness. If you want to devour and refine us, let's see if you're capable enough." At this moment, the silver-winged dragon spoke. The silver-winged dragon immediately got to the point. "If I'm not wrong, most of your strength is being restrained by the heaven-devouring hound skeleton because you're afraid of being devoured." "Nonsense." The old man's eyes flickered as he berated. "Dark Emperor, don't worry. With the 4 of us working together, we might not be able to fight against a peak manifestation realm martial artist, but we can fight against a peak late manifestation realm martial artist." The silver winged dragon said, "This old man's strength is only at peak late manifestation realm. As long as we hold him back until Ningyu arrives, it'll be his death. No problem." The Dark Emperor's eyes glowed brightly, and he was the first to attack, blasting at the skeletal old man. "Go to hell." Looking at the approaching Dark Emperor, the old man waved his sleeves and a cold ray of light shot out. Bang! The facts proved that the Dark Emperor alone could not stop the skeleton old man. The cold ray of light landed on the Dark Emperor's chest, and the powerful force pushed the Dark Emperor back several feet. Chapter 828. Wanna eat meat? Chapter 828. Eat meat whoosh. After stabilizing his body, the Dark Monarch charged out once more without saying a word. "Humph! You're courting death." The skeletal old man harumphed coldly when he saw the Dark Emperor charging at him again. He bent his legs slightly and dashed forward at lightning speed. The skeletal old man's speed was several times faster than the Dark Emperor's. The Dark Emperor had only taken 2 to 3 steps when the skeletal old man arrived before him. Bang! The skeletal old man's fist brought along a violent gust of wind and landed on the Dark Emperor's chest for the second time. Even though the Dark Emperor's strength had increased after devouring Jin Juelong and the others, he was still unable to fight back against the skeletal old man. A crisp sound was heard, and the Dark Emperor fell to the ground like a kite with its string cut. Go! Seeing the Dark Emperor's defeat, the silver-winged dragon roared and pounced at the skeletal old man. Roar! The twin horns beast roared into the sky and followed the silver-winged dragon to attack the skeletal old man. Woof woof! As for Furball, it came to the Dark Emperor's side and forced a few drops of blood essence into the Dark Emperor's mouth. In order for the Dark Emperor to recover to his peak, Furball fed the Dark Emperor his blood essence for the second time. The Dark Emperor did not disappoint for a ball. The Dark Emperor quickly used a skill to refine the blood essence. Not long later, the Dark Emperor's aura climbed from the bottom to the peak. Bang! Bang! However, just as the Emperor of the Dark Emperor recovered to his peak state, two clear sounds came from beside his ears. Hee hee, you guys are quite strong. Unfortunately, you guys are destined to meet your end. The skeletal old man defeated the silver winged dragon and the twin horns beast without much effort. Furthermore, it was a crushing defeat. How can you unleash the strength of a half-step honorable? Aren't you afraid of the backlash? The silver winged dragon wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and said coldly, "Backlash? What's that?" The skeletal old man raised his brows and asked in confusion, "I'm a half-step honorable. Why can't I unleash the strength of a half-step honorable?" As he spoke, the skeletal old man's face darkened. The skeleton old man changed the topic and said sinisterly, "The two of you don't have high aptitudes. It's not easy for you to cultivate to the early stage of Blessed Realm. How about this? If you're willing to become my mount, I can spare your lives." Pooh! The two-horned beast spat out a mouthful of saliva and said, "You want us to become your mounts? Dream on. I don't care. Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish." The skeletal old man shrugged and waved his hand. In an instant, two cold lights appeared in the air and attacked the silver winged dragon and the twin-horned beast. Pucci! The Dark Emperor had already recovered to his peak state. Naturally, he would not allow the heavily injured silver winged dragon and twin-horned beast to be killed. Therefore, the Dark Emperor rose from the ground and helped the silver winged dragon and the others to block the two cold beams from the skeletal old man. The result was obvious. The Dark Emperor spat out a large mouthful of blood. His aura, which had just recovered to its peak, once again fell to rock bottom. Actually, before I refine the skeleton of the sky-devouring hound, I should refine the four little fellows first. As he spoke, the skeletal old man's body gradually became illusory. In the next instant, the skeletal old man appeared beside the Dark Emperor. Clearly, the skeletal old man's first target was the Dark Emperor. Roar, roar, roar. Seeing that he was about to be killed, the Dark Emperor roared into the sky, and his body gradually grew bigger. Swoosh! Seeing the Dark Emperor grow bigger, the skeletal old man instantly retreated and looked at the enlarged Dark Emperor in shock. Then, the skeletal old man revealed a look of ecstasy. "It's actually the purple gold sky devouring hound. Ha ha ha, the heavens are really helping me." The skeletal old man laughed maniacally and said, "I've searched bitterly for many years, but could not find a living purple gold sky devouring hound. Who would have thought that I would meet one at the last moment?" In order to refine the giant skeleton as soon as possible, the skeletal old man flipped through many ancient books of the Corpsine sect. In the process of flipping through the books, the skeletal old man saw a type of secret technique. By pouring the blood of the purple gold sky devouring hound on the giant skeleton, it could stimulate the energy in the deepest part of the skeleton. As long as he refined the energy, he could even skip grade 1 human supreme and directly advance to grade 2 human supreme. This was a huge temptation. Otherwise, he would have refined the giant skeleton long ago. Why would he wait until now? To him, it was really a case of wearing out iron shoes in fruitless searching, only to find it by chance. Swoosh! The skeletal old man did not want to waste any time. The purple gold sky devouring hound was extremely rare, and he was afraid that if he delayed any longer, something might happen. Therefore, the skeletal old man's figure burst out and appeared on the back of the Dark Emperor in an instant. Pa pa pa! The skeletal old man rode on the back of the Dark Emperor and slapped his hands on the Dark Emperor's body. Crisp sounds rang out one after another. Each of the skeletal old man's palms contained violent energy. After a few palms, The skin on the Dark Emperor's back was torn. I can't waste it. Seeing the Dark Emperor's blood dripping continuously, the skeletal old man quickly took out a jade bottle and stored the blood. He did not want to waste a single drop. Right? Why don't I stuff this sky-devouring hound into the skeleton? Suddenly, the skeletal old man seemed to have thought of something. He clenched his right fist and punched the Dark Emperor's back. Voila! After being punched by the skeletal old man, the Dark Emperor's body gradually shrunk and returned to its normal appearance. Go in! The skeletal old man kicked the Dark Emperor's back and pushed the Dark Emperor into the giant skeleton. Seal! In order to prevent the Dark Emperor from escaping from the skeleton, the skeletal old man even used a secret technique to seal the skeleton, causing the Dark Emperor to enjoy the pain within the skeleton. Although he had kicked the Dark Emperor into the skeletal old man was not idle. As he refined the skeleton, he walked towards the silver-winged dragon and the twin-horned beast. As for Furball, it was automatically ignored by the skeletal old man. Fortunately, when Furball was transferring the blood essence to the Dark Emperor, the skeletal old man did not notice it. Otherwise, with the skeletal old man's character, he would definitely devour and refine Furball first. What should we do? Looking at the skeletal old man that was approaching it, the twin-horned beast said in a low voice, "How would I know what to do? Let's just wait and see." The silver-winged dragon's eyes were filled with determination as it said in a low voice, "Let's fight it out with him. At most, we'll just self-destruct." "All right, self-destruct it is." The twin-horned beast gritted its teeth and its body gradually expanded. Trying to self-destruct in front of me? Seeing the twin-horned beast's actions, the skeletal old man raised his brows and said calmly, "Without my permission, don't talk about self-destructing. You won't even have the chance to kill yourself." As he spoke, the skeletal old man unleashed his half-step honorable aura and pressed it down on the twin-horned beast. Being pressured by the skeletal old man's aura, the twin-horned beast's swollen body slowly returned to its normal state. "I gave you a chance, but you didn't know how to cherish it." The skeletal old man approached the silver-winged dragon and the twin-horned beast and said, Chapter 829. Transaction, damn it. Feeling the energy in their bodies being suppressed by the skeleton old man, the silver-winged dragon and the twin-horned beast cursed in unison. Their current situation could only be described as being in a state where they could neither live nor die. It couldn't be any better. His life and death were completely under the control of the skeleton old man. This feeling was very uncomfortable, as if there was a fishbone stuck in his throat. "You guys are quite large, so I can't eat them all by myself. The rest can be shared by the corpse sect cultivators. That way, you guys will be able to display your greatest potential." Old Skeleton said sinisterly, "Rumble." However, before the skeletal old man could start killing the silver-winged dragon and the twin-horned beast, the door of the hall was blasted open by a huge force. The sudden change caused the skeleton old man's expression to change slightly, and he hurriedly turned around to look. At the entrance of the hall, a thin martial artist stood there. At first glance, the thin martial artist looked ordinary. He was only half a step into the manifestation realm. However, upon closer inspection, the skeletal old man's eyes were filled with shock. Genius, a peerless genius. The skeleton old man was a half-step supreme being. His eyesight was still not bad. From the violent aura emanating from Ningyu's body, he could determine that Ningyu was a peerless genius. Moreover, he was not the kind of genius that only appeared once in 100 years, but a genius that only appeared once in 1,000 years. Even in the Corpsine sect, there were only a few cultivators that could compare to this young cultivator. Ningyu, seeing the thin figure at the entrance of the hall, the silver-winged dragon and the twin-horned beast cried out in unison, "Xiao!" Furball rose from the ground, turning into a blur as he flew to Ning Yu's side. Woof woof. At the same time, Furball extended his claws and pointed at the huge skeleton behind the skeletal old man, roaring incessantly. You mean the Dark Emperor is inside? After spending so much time with Furball, Ning Yu could already understand Furball's gestures. Caw-caw! After learning that the Dark Emperor was trapped in the skeleton, Ning Yu's face darkened completely, and his knuckles cracked as he clenched his fists. Kid, are you angry? Very angry? You even want to kill me? After a brief moment of shock, the skeletal old man smiled faintly and said, A half-step manifestation realm brat wants to kill a half-step honorable realm expert. I'm afraid that in the entire Great Xia Kingdom, no, even in the entire Sky Demon region, only you would have the guts to do so. The Sky Demon area is huge. Just because you haven't seen it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Ning Yu took a deep breath and tried to calm himself down. Actually, there was no need for the skeletal old man to say it himself, as Ning Yu had already determined that his cultivation was at the half-step honorable realm. To be able to force the silver winged dragon and the twin-horned beast to the point where they couldn't even self-destruct, his cultivation had to be at least half a step into the venerable realm. An ordinary martial artist at the peak of the creation realm would definitely not be able to do it. Moreover, the Dark Emperor had a very bad temper. He was a heaven-devouring dog that would rather die than submit. The fact that the Dark Sovereign was trapped in the skeleton was more than enough to prove that the strength of the elder before him was truly heaven-defying. Courage is one aspect, and strength is another. The skeletal old man crossed his arms in front of his chest and stared at Ning Yu with interest. He said, How about joining me? I can give you a lot of resources to help you advance to the creation realm quickly. Let me ask you a question. Ning Yu did not answer the skeletal old man's question. Instead, he asked, Has Venerable Corpse Een advanced to the heavenly supreme realm? Hearing this, the skeletal old man's heart skipped a beat. He had no choice but to reevaluate the half-step into the manifestation realm martial artist before him. Not to mention the Sky Demon area. Even within the Corpsine sect, there were very few people who knew Venerable Corpsian's true cultivation. One must know that the Corpsine sect had announced to the public that Venerable Corpsine had just advanced to the Earth's supreme realm. Who exactly are you? The skeletal old man secretly became cautious as he berated. At this point, the skeletal old man had already determined that Ning Yu was pretending to be weak. Although Ning Yu's cultivation was only at the half-step into the manifestation realm, the skeletal old man was almost certain that Ning Yu's cultivation would not be lower than the pinnacle of the manifestation realm. So you're pretending to be weak. No wonder you're so fearless when you see me. The skeletal old man secretly became cautious, always on guard against Ning Yu's sudden attack. Are you blind? Didn't the silver winged dragon and the others say that I'm Ning Yu? Ning Yu shrugged and walked toward the silver winged dragon and the twin horns beast. Not long after, Ning Yu arrived beside the silver winged dragon and the twin horns beast. Ning Yu placed his palms on the back of the silver winged dragon and the twin horns beast and began to treat their injuries. The skeletal old man coldly watched all of this and did not stop him. I'd like to see what you're up to, the skeletal old man said coldly. Actually, what the skeletal old man did not know was that Ning Yu was even more anxious than him. The Dark Emperor was trapped in the skeleton, and it was unknown whether he was dead or alive. The dead spirit chi in the red fiend sword had yet to be completely refined, and the silver winged dragon and the twin horns beast were severely injured. It was truly a case of misfortune. Fortunately, the skeletal old man was intimidated, otherwise the consequences would be unimaginable. Red Fiend, hurry up and refine the dead spirit chi. The Dark Emperor might not be able to hold on for long. As Ning Yu treated the silver winged dragon and the twin horns beast, he secretly instructed the Red Fiend. I know. The Dark Emperor was trapped, and the Red Fiend was also very anxious. However, Yen Fiend's dead spirit chi was too difficult to refine, and the Red Fiend did not have any good ideas. According to the Red Fiend's judgment, Ning Yu still needed to wait for another hour before he could use the Red Fiend sword. In other words, he needed an hour. Whether the Dark Emperor could hold on for another hour depended on the Dark Emperor's luck. Fortunately, the skeletal old man stopped refining the skeleton. Otherwise, the Dark Emperor would definitely not be able to hold on until now. Time was ticking away. About half an hour had passed. Ningyu, your cultivation level is only at the half-step manifestation realm. You are not pretending to be weak. When Ningyu retracted his palm from the back of the silver winged dragon and the twin horns beast, the skeletal old man realized something was amiss. Ningyu's cultivation level was indeed at the half-step manifestation realm, and he was not pretending to be weak. You guys retreat to the side first. Leave this old man to me. Ningyu first said to the silver-winged dragon and the twin horns beast, then turned and walked towards the skeletal old man. Ningyu walked very slowly. A journey that could have been completed in a minute took 5 minutes for Ningyu. Stalling for time. Ningyu was completely stalling for time. As long as he could stall for time until the Red Fiend refined the dead spirit chi, Ningyu would have a chance of turning the tables. Of course, this chance was so low that it was negligible. After all, Ningyu could only fight against a warrior at the peak of the manifestation realm at his current stage. If he were to face a half-step supremacy realm warrior, only death awaited him. 25 minutes left. Ningyu secretly calculated the time in his heart, but on the surface he said calmly, "Skeletal old man, how about we make a deal?" "Humph. Do you think you are worthy of making a deal with me?" The skeletal old man snorted coldly. He immediately rose from the ground and charged towards Ningyu. "Don't be anxious. Let me finish." Ningyu waved his hand, indicating for the skeletal old man to calm down. Chapter 830. Chapter 830. Refining energy. What? Soul tree? You have a soul tree. Hearing Ningyu's words, the old man could no longer remain calm. He unleashed his aura and pressed towards Ningyu. In a battle between experts, the strength of one's soul power was the key to victory, and the soul tree was the best treasure to strengthen one's soul power. With the soul tree, the old man could even raise his soul power to another level in a short period of time. How could the old man not be surprised? What a joke! Do you think I would bring such an important treasure with me? Forcefully withstanding the old man's half-step honorable aura, Ningyu smiled faintly and said, "As long as you make a deal with me, I will tell you the exact location of the soul tree." "Speak, what deal?" The old man said in a deep voice. "Very simple. As long as you remove the seal on the giant skeleton behind you, I will tell you where the soul tree is." Ningyu pointed to the giant skeleton behind the old man and said, "That's impossible." The old man rejected immediately. "Remove the seal on the heaven-devouring hound skeleton? What a joke! One must know that the old man could successfully advance to the honorable realm because of the Dark Emperor in the skeleton. Once the seal was removed and the Dark Emperor escaped, it would be a thankless task. "Then there's no other way," Ningyu said as he counted the time. "There's still 20 minutes. As long as he dragged on for another 20 minutes, the Red Devil would be able to refine Yenmo's dead spiritual energy. By then, although he still wouldn't be able to fight against the old man, it would be much better than the current situation. Hee. There are always more solutions than problems." Suddenly, the old man's lips curled into an arc swoosh. In the next instant, the old man suddenly rushed out and appeared in front of Ningyu in a split second. Buzz, buzz! The old man's fist emitted a violent wave of energy as he punched towards Ningyu's chest. The old man used 80% of his strength in this punch. It was obvious that the old man didn't want to kill Ningyu. The skeletal old man's plan was very simple. severely injure Ningyu, and then use a secret technique to force him to reveal the location of the soul tree. The skeletal old man would not kill Ningyu before forcing him to reveal the exact location of the soul tree. Life and death palm. Facing the incoming fist, Ningyu's complexion changed slightly. All the essence in his sea of consciousness rushed out and wrapped around his palm. Pa! A crisp voice resounded in the hall. Shio! Immediately after, Silver Winged Dragon and the others saw a figure rapidly retreating until he hit the wall of the hall. Only then was he able to stabilize himself. Swallowing the sweetness in his throat, Ningyu maintained his calm expression and said, "In the past, I thought that a half-step Supreme Being was very powerful, but at this point, Ningyu paused for a moment before he changed the topic and continued. You've given me a whole new understanding of half-step supremacy realm martial artists. It turns out that not all half-step supremacy realm martial artists are very powerful. At the very least, you couldn't even defeat a half-step manifestation realm martial artist like me. Presumptuous!" The old man bellowed and dashed out again. Actually, seeing that Ningyu looked fine on the surface, the old man was actually very shocked. Although he was shocked, the old man wouldn't waste any more time. However, the old man had always believed that as long as he used 100% of his strength, he would definitely be able to kill Ningyu in an instant. Therefore, this time, the old man didn't use 100% of his strength, but 90% of his strength. Damn it! Red Devil, how much longer do you need? Seeing the old man attacking him for the second time, Ningyu cursed and quickly contacted the Red Devil. Done! In the Red Devil sword, the Red Devil refined the last bit of dead spiritual energy and integrated it into the Red Devil sword, appearing in front of Ningyu. All right, Ningyu grabbed the Red Devil sword and slashed down a sword wave. Swoosh! A huge sword wave separated from the Red Devil sword and collided with the old man's fist. Sha! The punch of the old man with 90% of his strength was not just for show. Although the sword wave that Ningyu slashed out was also very powerful, it could only be defeated by the old man's fist. In midair, the old man dispersed the sword wave with a punch and charged straight at Ningyu. Bang! The old man's fist pierced through the void and hit Ningyu's chest with no way to avoid it. The huge force that came from his chest directly blasted Ningyu several feet away. However, this time, Ningyu was hit below the skeleton of the Sky Devourer Hound. I thought you were powerful. Turns out you're just a wax head with a silver spear. Impressive, but useless. After defeating Ningyu with ease, the old man curled his lips and said indifferently, Uft! Below the skeleton of the Sky Devourer Hound. Ningyu couldn't take it anymore and spat out a mouthful of blood. Skeleton. Ningyu wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and wanted to say something, but his voice stopped abruptly. That was because a voice rang in Ningyu's mind. Ningyu, find a way to enter the skeleton. Dark Emperor. You could easily tell that the person who spoke was the Dark Emperor. Are you okay inside? Cut the crap. Quickly find a way to enter the skeleton. This skeleton belongs to the Purple Gold Sky Devourer Hound. The old man trapped me inside, but I didn't expect to benefit from it and gain its recognition. The Dark Emperor said anxiously, I'm refining the skeleton's energy with all my might. I need you to come in and protect me. No problem. Ningyu gritted his teeth and made a prompt decision. He took out his golden elixir from his consciousness and slammed it against the skeleton of the Sky Devourer Hound in front of the old man. Trying to break the seal with a suicidal attack? Seeing Ningyu's action, the old man was stunned for a moment before he sneered. Since you want to break the seal so badly, I'll fulfill your wish and let you accompany that black dog. Rumble. The old man waved his wrist, and the seal around the skeleton was instantly broken. At the critical moment when the seal was broken, Ningyu seized the opportunity and entered the skeleton. You guys go in too. The old man moved quickly and arrived beside the silver-winged dragon and the rest in an instant. He kicked the silver-winged dragon, the twin horns beast, and Hairy Ball into the huge skeleton. Seal. The moment Hairy Ball and the rest entered the skeleton, the old man sealed the skeleton again. Ha ha ha. After refining all of you, I can easily advance to grade 1 human supreme, or even grade 2. The old man laughed and sat down cross-legged. He started refining with his secret technique. Bang, bang, bang. When the old man tried to refine the skeleton, the silver-winged dragon and the rest fell out of the skeleton. Seeing the scene before him, the silver-winged dragon's mouth was agape, and his face was filled with disbelief. Not far away, the Dark Emperor sat cross-legged in the center. Above his head, there was a huge ball of energy that was constantly being transferred into the Dark Emperor's body. Beside the Dark Emperor, Ningyu was also enjoying the energy that was being emitted by the ball of energy. Don't just stand there. Hurry up and come over. Chapter 831. To be driven to desperation, the silver-winged dragon and the twin-horned beast were frozen for a full 3 seconds before they reacted. After coming to their senses, the two of them flew to Ningyu's side without stopping. Woof woof. As for Furball, it let out 2 roars and jumped onto the back of the Dark Emperor. Hua! Hua! Furball was also a purple-gold devouring hound. The ball of energy above the Dark Monarch's head sensed the little fellow and split into 2, one entering the Dark Monarch's body and the other entering Furball's body. Seeing that Furball was trying to snatch the energy from him, the Dark Emperor's face darkened, but there was nothing he could do. Fortunately, there was a lot of energy in the energy ball, and the Dark Emperor could not possibly finish devouring it. Rather than letting it all go to waste, it was better to let Furball enjoy it as well. This skeleton of the sky-devouring hound was at least a high-level human sovereign when it was alive. Ningyu looked at the ball of energy above the Dark Emperor's head and muttered, "The Dark Emperor and Furball definitely won't be able to refine all the energy in such a short amount of time. They'll probably store it in their bodies." The energy within the energy ball was extremely terrifying. The energy absorbed by Ningyu, the silver-winged dragon, and the twin-horned beast was only a portion of the energy that leaked out. Even so, Ningyu still felt very satisfied with the energy that leaked out. Although he could not raise his cultivation to the creation realm, if he continued to absorb and refine it, it would not be a problem for his cultivation to increase by 30 to 40%. The silver-winged dragon and the twin-horned beast were much luckier. Their cultivation was at the early stage of the manifestation realm. If nothing went wrong, they would definitely be able to break through to the middle stage of the manifestation realm. Time was ticking away. Inside the hall, the skeletal old man kept executing his secret techniques. In fact, in order to refine the heaven-devouring hound's skeleton earlier, the skeletal old man injected the primordial qi in his sea of consciousness into the skeleton. Not only was the yuan qi that the skeleton old man had injected into the skeleton useless, it had even become food for the silver-winged dragon and the twin-horned beast. Bang! About half an hour later, a muffled sound came from the silver-winged dragon's body. Boom! Then a terrifying aura flashed past. What happened? In the hall, the skeletal old man sensed the terrifying aura rushing out from the skeleton. He raised his eyebrows in shock. It should be about to refine them. If I'm not wrong, that muffled sound should be caused by the explosion of the purple-gold sky devouring hound. F***CK. Bang! Before the skeletal old man could finish his mumbling, he couldn't help but curse. This was because another terrifying aura rose from the skeleton of the sky-devouring hound. 2 terrifying auras were emitted consecutively, causing the skeleton geezer to be cautious. He hurriedly sent a wisp of his spiritual perception into the skeleton of the sky-devouring hound. Inside the gigantic skeleton, Ningyu watched as the ball of energy above the Dark Emperor's head became smaller and smaller, and the worry in his heart also lessened. However, when the ball of energy had shrunk to half its original size, a terrifying spiritual undulation suddenly appeared beside the Dark Emperor. Open! At this critical moment, Ningyu let out a low cry and hurriedly took out the scroll from his storage ring. Get in! Then Ningyu made a series of hand seals and instantly blasted out several palm prints. Several palm prints struck out in unison, catching the skeletal old man by surprise. Uft! The skeletal old man suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. His originally skinny cheeks were now protruding out of his bones, making him look extremely hideous. Who can tell me what's going on? The skeletal old man let out a roar, his face filled with anger. I don't believe it. The skeletal old man let out a low cry and immediately sent a wisp of his spiritual perception into the skeleton. The result was obvious. Not long later, the skeletal old man lost his connection with his spiritual perception. Something's wrong, something's wrong. After 2 consecutive failures, the skeletal old man became cautious. The skeletal old man decided not to act recklessly anymore. Instead, he carefully sent out a wisp of his spiritual perception and tried to make contact with the gigantic skeleton. To be honest, the skeletal old man felt extremely aggrieved and even wanted to kill someone. Before Ningyu and the others appeared, everything was fine. After a period of time, he would naturally be able to refine the skeleton and advance to the honorable realm. Not only did the appearance of Ningyu and the others not allow him to refine the sky-devouring hound skeleton earlier, but it also caused him to suffer heavy injuries. The vitality consumed from refining the skeleton, coupled with the loss of spiritual perception, caused the skeletal old man's battle prowess to drop by quite a few levels. If this dragged on, the skeletal old man's battle prowess might not even be comparable to an ordinary peak manifestation realm martial artist. I'll go in too. After the 3rd attempt failed, the skeletal old man gritted his teeth and turned into an afterimage, entering the skeleton in an instant. Buzz, buzz! Looking at the skeletal old man in front of him, Ningyu's expression changed slightly. He stood up with a swoosh and shielded the Dark Emperor and Furball behind him. The silver winged dragon and the twin-horned beast had advanced to the middle manifestation realm, and their strength had a qualitative increase. They could even fight against a peak manifestation realm martial artist. Therefore, the silver winged dragon and the twin-horned beast stood on the left and right of Ningyu. My energy. That's my energy. You guys are courting death. The skeletal old man saw the energy ball above the Dark Emperor's head the moment he appeared. Furthermore, the skeletal old man let out a furious roar. To the skeletal old man, that energy originally belonged to him. Now that it was being occupied by 2 dogs, how could he not be angry? As the saying goes, the wrath of a supremacy realm martial artist could destroy the world. Although the skeletal old man was only half a step into supremacy realm, the impact of his wrath was not weak. Crack, crack! The skeletal old man clenched his fists and cracking sounds could be heard. Swoosh! In the next moment, the skeletal old man charged out, his fists pulsating with dense energy waves. We have to stop him no matter what. Looking at the approaching skeletal old man, Ningyu let out a low bellow and was the first to fight with the skeletal old man. After devouring and refining the energy emitted by the energy ball, Ningyu's strength had increased by quite a bit. In addition, the skeletal old man's strength had decreased by quite a few levels. Under such circumstances, Ningyu was actually on par with the skeletal old man. This is infuriating. The skeletal old man was furious. He had never expected that in just slightly more than half an hour, Ningyu's strength would have such a qualitative leap. Roar! Roar! Looking at the battle between Ningyu and the skeletal old man, the silver winged dragon and the twin-horned beast did not stay idle. They attacked from the side. Although the silver winged dragon and the twin-horned beast were not a match for the skeletal old man. When they worked together, they could still force the skeletal old man to retreat continuously. "You guys forced me to do this." The skeletal old man forced Ningyu and the other two to retreat before taking a deep breath. His eyes gradually turned from black to blood red. "Next year today will be the anniversary of your death." After his eyes turned completely blood red, the skeletal old man said sinisterly, "For offending me, the skeletal old man, I will refine all of you into corpse puppets." Bang! Bang! Chapter 832. Sherming. A crisp sound suddenly rang out, causing everyone, including the skeletal old man and even Ningyu, to look over. Who? Who? On the other side, the Dark Emperor and Furball slowly exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. Their tightly shut eyes suddenly opened. On the surface, the cultivation of the Dark Emperor and Furball did not increase significantly. They were still at the half-step manifestation realm. However, the strength of the Dark Emperor and Furball had increased qualitatively. Apart from the Dark Emperor and Furball themselves, no one knew how much terrifying energy was in their bodies. In short, a large portion of the energy produced by the gigantic skeleton of the sky-devouring hound was lying dormant in their bodies, slowly being refined. Once all of this energy was refined by them, their cultivation would soar like a rocket. By conservative estimates, the Dark Emperor and Furball would both advance to the manifestation intermediate stage, or even the manifestation advanced stage. Humph! After devouring so much energy, your cultivation is still at the half-step manifestation realm. What trash! Sensing the aura emitted by the Dark Emperor and Furball, the skeletal old man snorted coldly and dashed out. The skeletal old man was very fast. In order to reach the Dark Emperor and Furball as soon as possible, he did not hesitate to burn his blood essence to increase his speed. Not good. While Ningyu's attention was still on the Dark Emperor, the skeletal old man swept past him and dashed straight for the Dark Emperor. Solitaire. At the crucial moment, Ningyu waved the red demon sword and slashed out a shocking sword wave. Chi-chi. The sword wave was not slow either. As it rubbed against the air, it produced a sizzling sound. However, no matter how fast the sword wave was, it was still half a beat too slow. Before the sword wave could catch up to the skeletal old man, the skeletal old man's fists had already landed on the Dark Emperor and Furball. "Papa!" Two muffled sounds rang out. Immediately, the skeletal old man retreated as if he had seen something terrifying. Puff! The direction in which the skeletal old man retreated happened to be the direction where Solitaire came from. Without a doubt, the skeletal old man was stabbed in the back by Solitaire, and his aura instantly dropped from the half-step supremacy realm to the peak of the creation realm. Impossible, absolutely impossible. The skeleton's energy is mine. How could you guys devour it? The skeletal old man spat out a mouthful of blood, and his eyes were filled with confusion. Nothing is impossible. Ning, you kept the red demon sword and instantly flew to the Dark Emperor's side. He stared at the skeletal old man and said, "The Dark Emperor is a purple gold heaven devouring hound. It is only natural that he would be able to devour the skeleton's energy. On the other hand, you're not a heaven-devouring hound." You're delusional enough to want to devour the energy within the skeleton. You're lucky that you didn't get killed on the spot by the backlash, yet you're delusional enough to want to refine all of us. Humph! If it wasn't for the fact that my combat power wasn't at its peak, I would have killed all of you long ago, and there wouldn't have been so many things after that. The skeletal old man snorted coldly and said sinisterly, "As the saying goes, the mountains will never change. In the future we will have uft." However, before the skeletal old man could finish his sentence, he spat out another mouthful of blood, and his aura dropped from the peak of the creation realm to the late stage of the creation realm. Dark Emperor, I'll leave the skeletal old man to you. Let's go out first. Ning Yu first said to the Dark Emperor before his figure flashed and disappeared in an instant. The silver winged dragon and the twin-horned beast followed, closely behind Ning Yu, tearing through the void and disappearing. Kacha! 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 Not long after Ning Yu left the skeleton of the heaven-devouring hound, the skeleton let out a kacha, kacha sound. A moment later, the huge skeleton turned into nothingness and completely disappeared from the world. The Dark Emperor and Furball appeared at the location where the skeleton was. My God, Furball, your cultivation has actually advanced to the early stage of the creation realm? What shocked Ning Yu was that the Dark Emperor and Furball's cultivation had both advanced to the early stage of the creation realm. After devouring so much of the skeleton's energy, the Dark Emperor and Furball did not advance. He did not expect that after devouring the skeletal old man, they would actually break through their limits and advance to the early stage of the creation realm. Ning Yu, we need to go into seclusion and refine the enormous energy in our bodies. The Dark Emperor leaped to Ning Yu's side and said, How long do you need to go into seclusion? Ning Yu asked. About a day or so. The Dark Emperor replied, If everything goes well, we will be able to advance to the mid-stage of the creation realm in a day. If it doesn't go well, Ning Yu asked again. If it doesn't go well, it will take about 3 days. The Dark Emperor explained, The energy in the heaven-devouring hound's skeleton is simply too enormous. If I don't refine it, I'm afraid I won't be able to suppress it. It might not be a good time to go into seclusion now. Ning Yu frowned and said, This place is not safe. Let's leave now and go into seclusion when we reach a safe place. Since the skeletal old man was in the hall, it meant that this hall was the territory of the corpse-ean sect. Who knew if there were other experts of the corpse-ean sect? If the Dark Emperor was in seclusion here and the experts of the corpse-ean sect came over, wouldn't it be like catching a turtle in a jar? One had to know that once one went into seclusion, they could not be disturbed. Otherwise, they would be seriously injured, and at worst, they would die from the backlash. Hurry up and leave. We can't suppress it for long. The Dark Emperor said in a deep voice, we can't suppress it for long, so there's no need to. Just as the Dark Emperor's voice fell, a faint laugh came from outside the hall. Immediately, a group of 8 cultivators appeared at the entrance of the hall. The leader was an old man at the peak of the creation realm. At this moment, a smile appeared on the old man's face as he said indifferently, It just so happens that I'm about to advance to the half-step sovereign realm. After refining you guys, I can naturally advance to the half-step sovereign realm. You want to refine us? Feeling the aura emitted by the old man, Ning Yu raised his brows and said coldly, The skeletal old man's cultivation was half-step sovereign realm, and even he was killed by us. Do you think your strength is comparable to the skeletal old man? The skeletal old man was killed by you guys? Hearing Ning Yu's words, the old man's expression changed greatly. When he entered the hall, the old man was a little confused as to why he did not see the skeletal old man. Now that he heard Ning Yu mention it, the old man released his perception to look for the skeletal old man. This search caused the old man's expression to change greatly, revealing a terrified expression. The skeletal old man's cultivation was half-step sovereign realm, and he was refining the skeleton of the heaven-devouring dog in the hall. If the skeletal old man was killed by this kid, wouldn't that mean that the skeleton of the heaven-devouring dog was also taken away? Where's the skeleton of the heaven-devouring dog? The old man scolded in a deep voice. Compared to the skeletal old man being killed, the old man was more worried about the skeleton of the heaven-devouring dog. This time, the headquarters of the corpse sect had sent a total of 2 cultivators that surpassed the creation realm to the Great Xia Kingdom. The first was the skeletal old man who was half-step sovereign realm. He was tasked to refine the skeleton of the heaven-devouring dog in hopes of advancing to the sovereign realm. The other was a second-grade sovereign, the venerable corpse dragon. The reason why the venerable corpse dragon was willing to give the skeletal old man the energy of the heaven-devouring dog was because the latter had given him the materials that he had prepared over the years, and even promised to give him the skeleton of the heaven-devouring dog. With the materials and the skeleton of the heaven-devouring dog, the venerable corpse dragon could even refine a second-grade sovereign realm puppet. Chapter 833. Teleportation Formation. Brat, hand over the heaven-devouring dog skeleton, and I can leave your corpses intact. Sherming's expression was very ugly, and he said in a low voice, "Otherwise, I'll refine all of you into corpse puppets. Although I don't know where you get your courage from, I can be sure that you're even more arrogant than me." Ningyu shrugged and said indifferently, "I've already said that the skeleton old man has already been killed by us, but you still insist on threatening us. Looks like you're very confident that you're stronger than the half-step venerable realm old man. Let's not talk about whether or not the skeleton old man was killed by you. Even if the skeleton old man was killed by you, it was a stroke of luck." Sherming snorted coldly and said, "If I'm not wrong, you must have killed the skeleton old man with a sneak attack when he was at his weakest. Killing the skeleton old man at his peak was as easy as taking something out of his pocket." Sherming continued. It seemed like everything was under Sherming's control. "Ningyu, why waste your breath with them? Quickly kill them while Furball and I can still suppress the energy in our bodies." Seeing that Ningyu wanted to say something, the Dark Emperor stomped on the ground and charged out. Swoosh! The Dark Emperor's speed was very fast, and he arrived beside Sherming in the blink of an eye. After advancing to the early stage manifestation realm, the Dark Emperor's combat strength had a qualitative increase. "You're courting death." Looking at the sharp claws coming towards his face, Sherming growled and raised his arm, swinging it fiercely at the Dark Emperor. Rip! However, what happened next was clearly out of Sherming's expectations. The Dark Emperor's front claws streaked across Sherming's arm, tearing his clothes apart. His nails even left a bloody mark on Sherming's arm. "You've completely infuriated me." Looking at the bloody mark on his arm, Sherming took a deep breath, turned around, and said to the 7 martial artists behind him, "Go! Kill without mercy!" Whoosh! Hearing the order, the 7 martial artists moved in unison, and their target was the Dark Emperor. Among the 7 martial artists that Sherming brought, the weakest was at the early stage manifestation realm, while the strongest was at the peak late stage manifestation realm. If you want to kill the Dark Emperor, you have to ask us first. The silver winged dragon and the twin-horned beast would naturally not watch as the Dark Emperor was besieged. They were able to advance to the middle stage of the blessed state because of the energy in the sky-devouring hound skeleton. Now that they had blocked 7 corpse insect experts for the Dark Emperor, there was naturally no problem. Rumble! The silver-winged dragon and the 2-horned beast were fighting against the 7 peak experts of the corpse sect. Below the hall, Furball had also joined the battle, fighting Corpse Ming alongside the Dark Emperor. As for Ningyu, he stood where he was and did not make a move. "Buzz, should we make a move?" Hong Mo appeared beside Ningyu. He stared at the battlefield and asked hesitantly, "Not at the moment." Ningyu shook his head and said, "The silver winged dragon and the twin-horned beast have no problem dealing with the 7 corpse sect martial artists. The Dark Emperor and Furball can also contend with Sherming for a while. But the Dark Emperor and Furball won't be able to hold on for long. The energy in their bodies is already on the verge of exploding. In a few minutes, it will definitely explode, Hong Mo said anxiously. Let's wait. Ning Yu's face was expressionless. He closed his eyes as if all this had nothing to do with him. This. Hong Mo stomped his foot and could only choose to wait. Hong Mo believed that Ning Yu must have his reasons for doing this. Otherwise, with Ning Yu's personality, he would definitely be the first to make a move. Why wait until now? Boom! Boom! Time passed minute by minute. Inside the hall, spells were flying everywhere on the two battlefields. Although the silver-winged dragon and the twin-horned beast had the absolute advantage, they could not kill the 7 corpse insect martial artists in a short period of time. The situation on the Dark Emperor and Furball's side was not optimistic. As the battle progressed, the Dark Emperor and Furball became more and more disadvantaged. There were even a few times when they were almost hit by Shiming. In fact, this was not surprising. The Dark Emperor and Furball had to suppress the violent energy in their bodies while fighting against Shiming. Danger was inevitable. Crack! The battle lasted for another 10 seconds. When the 11th second arrived, a cracking sound rang out in the area. Swish! Immediately afterward, an illusory figure streaked across the void and arrived before Ning Yu in the blink of an eye. A fist that carried a violent yuan qi gale smashed towards Ning Yu's face. Although the fist was illusory, it was extremely powerful. It forced the air on both sides to scatter. I've been waiting for you. Ning Yu abruptly opened his eyes. With a red demon sword in his hand, he slashed down with a sword gleam. Chi! The sword ray collided with the illusory fist, and a sizzling sound rang out. The illusory fist dispersed. The sudden change caused Shiming and the others to instantly stop fighting in the distance, and all of them looked towards the entrance of the hall. Crash! At the entrance of the hall, a group of 9 martial artists slowly appeared. Pa! Pa! The age of the 9 martial artists was not old. The oldest was the leader, but he was only in his 20s. At this moment, the leader moved and arrived at the center of the hall. He clapped his hands and said, "How lively! I wonder if my arrival has disturbed everyone? Who are you?" Shiming shouted in a deep voice, "Gu Yuan." Ning Yu answered Shiming's question on behalf of Gu Yuan. The reason why Ning Yu knew Gu Yuan was because he had seen Gu Yuan's illusory body back in the Great Xia Kingdom's imperial family. Unfortunately, Ning Yu had killed Gu Yuan's illusory body back then, and there was a feud between them from then on. Haha! I originally only wanted to find Ning Yu. Who would have thought that I would encounter a martial artist from the corpse insect here? Gu Yuan wasn't surprised that Ning Yu knew him. He faintly smiled and said, "Just nice. Let's settle these 2 matters together." Gu Yuan, don't be so arrogant. Shiming secretly compared the 3 forces and suddenly discovered that he was the weakest. At this time, Shiming was definitely thinking of stabilizing Gu Yuan and Ning Yu first before waiting for an opportunity to escape. Shiming's eyes flickered, and he said in a deep voice, "I have already informed the Venerable Corpse Dragon. I believe it won't be long before the Venerable Corpse Dragon will rush over here." Venerable Corpse Dragon? Gu Yuan's brows raised and said indifferently, "The Venerable Corpse Dragon is in the Corpse Dragon Mountain Range, and the Corpse Dragon Mountain Range isn't near here. Even if the Venerable Corpse Dragon rushes over now, it will take a few hours to arrive." Ha ha ha! Shiming raised his head to the sky and laughed wildly. He said coldly, "The ignorant are fearless." Honestly speaking, the rumors outside are not wrong. This hall has a small-scale teleportation array that leads straight to the Corpse Dragon Mountain Range. Hearing that, not only did Gu Yuan's heart skip a beat, even Ning Yu had a grave expression. If it was really as Shiming said, and there was a teleportation array here, the consequences would be unimaginable. Once the Venerable Corpse Dragon rushed over, everyone would die. Chapter 834. Trapped. At this moment, Ningyu and Guyuan had the same idea. Kill Shiming first, then find the teleportation array and destroy it. This was the only way to prevent the venerable corpse dragon from rushing over. Go, all of you, go. Stop them. Shiming didn't expect that his casual words would become the fuse of a great battle. There was indeed a teleportation array in the main hall, but it was a one-way teleportation array. It could only be used to teleport to the Corpse Dragon mountain range, not the other way around. As soon as Shiming finished speaking, none of the 7 corpse sect martial artists behind him had any intention of making a move. What a joke! Guyuan was a half-step supreme being, while they were only in the manifestation realm. The two of them were not even on the same level. Guyuan might only need 10% of his strength to kill them. It was not the style of the people of the corpse sect to step forward even though they knew they were going to die. Damn it! You guys go and stop Ningyu. Leave Guyuan to me. Seeing that no one was making a move, Shiming cursed and immediately charged at Guyuan. Whoosh! This time, the 7 cultivators of the Corpse sect no longer held back and attacked Ningyu one after another. Ningyu was only a half-step manifestation realm martial artist. They were confident in facing Ningyu. Do you think I'm easy to bully? In midair, Ningyu flipped his wrist and the red demon's sword appeared in his hand. Solitaire! Along with Ningyu's low shout, an earth-shattering sword wave was formed. Hiss! Feeling the violent aura contained in the sword wave, even Guyuan couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. This won't do. I must find a chance to give Ningyu a fatal blow. Guyuan secretly made up his mind to give up on attacking Shiming and attack Ningyu as soon as there was an opportunity. Originally, Guyuan thought that Shiming would be difficult to deal with. After all, Shiming's cultivation was much higher than Ningyu's. Looking at it now, the hardest martial artist to deal with was Ningyu and not Shiming. Just from the sword wave that Ningyu had unleashed, Guyuan could tell that Ningyu's strength was at least on par with a martial artist at the peak of the manifestation realm. Pucci! The sword wave did not disappoint Guyuan. In front of so many people, the sword wave killed 3 early-stage Fate realm warriors of the Corpse sect. Again, after killing 3 corpse sect martial artists with 1 strike, Ningyu did not stop attacking. Instead, he poured the origin chi in his sea of knowledge into the red demon sword and slashed out several more sword waves. Swish, swish, swish! Several sword waves formed a sword wave formation in the air, surrounding the remaining 4 corpse sect experts. Shiming, think of something quickly. The corpse sect cultivators who were trapped in the sword ripple formation all cried out, hoping to receive help from Shiming. However, Shiming was like a clay bodhisattva crossing a river, unable to protect himself. Guyuan's cultivation was at the half-step supremacy realm. How could Shiming have the time to fight with Guyuan? I have to speed up as well. Guyuan turned around and looked at the 4 corpse sect martial artists trapped in the sword ripple formation. He took a deep breath and unleashed the aura of a half-step supremacy realm, pressing down on Shiming. Go! Shiming was the eldest disciple of the venerable corpse dragon, so he had a lot of trump cards. Guyuan's half-step supremacy realm aura did not pose any threat to him. On the contrary, Shiming took out a crystal ball from his pocket and tossed it to Guyuan. Crack! As soon as the crystal ball flew out, Shiming's eyes narrowed and the crystal ball exploded. Hiss! After the crystal ball exploded, an aura no weaker than a half-step supremacy realm suddenly rushed out and pressed down on Guyuan. Guyuan sucked in a breath of cold air when he felt such a terrifying aura. What goes around comes around, and it was someone else's turn this year. Today, I'll let you experience my true strength. Guyuan's eyes turned cold. He formed seals with his hands and instantly sent out countless palm prints. Kacha kacha kacha. However, the palm prints that Gu Yuan sent out did not last long. They were quickly crushed by the terrifying aura. Gu Yuan did not care about the palm prints shattering. Instead, he took advantage of the gap and arrived before Shiming. A purple gas appeared on Gu Yuan's fist, and he suddenly punched at Shiming's heart. Bang! Puff! A crisp sound accompanied by the sound of blood spurting resounded in the hall. You! Shiming lowered his head and looked at the purple-wrapped fist where his heart was. He opened his mouth and pointed at Gu Yuan. He wanted to say something, but his voice came to a screeching halt, and he collapsed to the ground. Rumble! After Shiming was killed, on the other side, the sword ripple formation that Ning Yu executed killed the remaining 4 corpse sect martial artists. Hee hee, looks like you're not weak either. Gu Yuan was not surprised that Ning Yu had killed 7 cultivators from the Corpsine sect. After all, in Gu Yuan's opinion, as long as one had the strength of a peak manifestation realm martial artist, they could easily kill the 7 corpse sect martial artists. Same here. Ning Yu said indifferently, in your opinion, should we fight now or find the teleportation formation first? I'll let you live a little longer. With a wave of his hand, Gu Yuan rose from the ground and shot towards the depths of the hall. Sang Yi and the others glared fiercely at Ning Yu before following Gu Yuan and disappearing. Ning Yu, the Dark Emperor and Furball are about to lose control. Not long after Gu Yuan and the others left, Hong Emo shouted. Hearing this, Ning Yu hurriedly turned to look at the Dark Emperor and Furball. This caused Ning Yu's heart to tremble. The Dark Emperor and Furball were in a very dangerous situation. If they did not refine the energy in their bodies, it was very likely that they would explode and die. Enter the painting first and refine the energy inside. At this point, Ning Yu couldn't care less and said in a deep voice, Swish! Swish! Hearing Ning Yu's words, the Dark Emperor and Furball turned into a blur and passed through the storage ring, entering the painting. Ning Yu, the painting is an unstable space. If you let the Dark Emperor and Furball refine the energy inside, I'm afraid. Hong Emo said hesitantly, I know, but the current situation does not allow me to think too much. Ning Yu interrupted the Red Devil and said, If the painting doesn't work, then the only way is to abandon the storage ring. I'll enter the storage ring with the silver winged dragon and the others first. Hopefully, we can stabilize the painting. Hong Emo pondered for a moment before his figure flashed and entered the storage ring. As for the silver winged dragon and the twin-horned beast, they turned into blurs and entered the storage ring as well. I must find the teleportation formation before Gu Yuan. Ning Yu put away the storage ring and waved his hands repeatedly, tearing through the void and disappearing. The reason why Gu Yuan did not fight with Ning Yu here was because he did not have absolute confidence that he could kill Ning Yu in a short period of time. Secondly, it was because of the teleportation formation that Corpse Ming had mentioned. Only by finding the teleportation formation and destroying it would Gu Yuan be able to deal with Ning Yu without worry. Otherwise, when the venerable corpse dragon rushed over, everyone would die. Swish! From the outside, the palace in the depths of solitary forest did not look too big. However, only after entering the palace would one know how terrifying it was. The interior of the palace was intricate and complicated. There were even many origin, chi formations, and soul formations. The slightest carelessness would cause one to be trapped in the formation and unable to move. Chapter 835. Chapter 835. A 10-foot-tall man. Damn it! If I knew there were so many array formations here, I would have killed Ning Yu in the main hall. Gu Yuan said coldly as he tried to crack the array formation. Gu Yuan regretted not attacking Ning Yu earlier. Now they were trapped in the array formation. Unless they used their trump cards, they would not be able to leave in a short time. In fact, the killing power produced by the array formation had directly turned 4 peak Yin Yang Realm 9 Furnace Divine Pavilion Geniuses into minced meat. Their deaths were extremely cruel. If I knew, you wouldn't have come," P'Sang Yi muttered. "Humph, what are you muttering about?" Gu Yuan's ears were sharp, and he could naturally hear P'Sang Yi's muttering. However, Gu Yuan chose to ignore it. He said in a low voice, "Inject your origin energy into my body. I want to quickly break the array formation." Yes, P'Sang Yi and the others had no choice, who asked Gu Yuan to be much higher than them in both status and strength. Buzz, buzz. P'Sang Yi and the others did not dare to delay. They hurriedly released the origin energy in their sea of consciousness and poured it into Gu Yuan's body. "Break for me." A moment later, Gu Yuan let out a low roar and punched out. While Gu Yuan was trying to break the array formation, Ning Yu encountered a big problem. Sha! In front of Ning Yu was an open area. In this open area, there were dozens of corpses lying around. From the aura emitted by these corpses, Ning Yu could determine that they were at least at the good fortune realm when they were alive. The corpses were not scary. What was scary was that behind the corpses, there was a 10-foot tall martial artist with dull eyes. Corpse puppet. Ning Yu's face darkened. The martial artist with dull eyes was a corpse puppet. Moreover, its cultivation had reached the terrifying peak good fortune realm. It was not that Ning Yu had not encountered peak good fortune realm corpse puppets before. However, this peak good fortune realm corpse puppet was the strongest among all the corpse puppets Ning Yu had encountered. In fact, this corpse puppet's combat strength was comparable to an ordinary half-step supreme realm martial artist. Damn it! Ning Yu cursed under his breath as he slowly retreated. Ning Yu wanted to leave this area as soon as possible before the corpse puppet noticed him. Roar! However, Ning Yu's plan obviously did not succeed. He had just taken 2 or 3 steps back when he was stunned by an earth-shattering roar. F***CK. The most terrifying thing was that the deafening roar that shocked Ning Yu did not come from the corpse puppet at the peak of blessed realm in front of him. Instead, it came from another corpse puppet in another direction. 2 corpse puppets. Moreover, both of them were corpse puppets at the peak of the blessed realm. Even Ning Yu had a hard time dealing with 1 corpse puppet at the peak of the blessed realm, let alone 2 of them. No, I have to find a way to leave. Ning Yu's eyes turned as he quickly thought of a countermeasure. Actually, it was no wonder that Ning Yu did not want to fight with these 2 corpse puppets. This was because Ning Yu had to pay attention to the Dark Emperor and Furball at all times. He was afraid that a battle would cause the painting scroll to become unstable. If the Dark Emperor and Furball were affected, it would be a loss. Roar, roar! Just as Ning Yu was pondering, the 2 corpse puppets at the peak of the blessed realm moved simultaneously. One after another, the 2 corpse puppets rushed toward Ning Yu. 1 for each of us. At the critical moment, the red fiend darted out of the storage ring and targeted the corpse puppet in front of him. I can only hold on for a minute at most. If you can't kill the corpse puppet after a minute, leave first. Hearing the red fiend's resolute words, Ning Yu gritted his teeth and forced a drop of blood essence into the red fiend's sword. He immediately held the red fiend's sword and fought with the corpse puppet behind him. Rumble! After exchanging blows, Ning Yu realized that he had misjudged the strength of the corpse puppet. Conservatively speaking, this corpse puppet's combat strength was even stronger than the skeletal old man's. Uft! As expected, what happened next proved that the corpse puppet's combat strength was very strong. 1 move. With just 1 move, the red fiend was hit in the chest by the corpse puppet and was sent flying dozens of feet away. After spitting out blood, the red fiend's aura rapidly decreased, dropping to freezing point in the blink of an eye. Roar, roar. After repelling the red fiend with one move, the corpse puppet did not continue to attack. Instead, it turned around and attacked Ningyu. Looking at the two corpse puppets that were rushing toward him, Ningyu's heart sank to the bottom. It was already very difficult for him to fight one corpse puppet, let alone two. Moreover, the painting was becoming more and more unstable. The energy in the Dark Emperor and Furbol's bodies was also becoming more and more violent. They could break the painting at any time. The pressure from the two corpse puppets, as well as the pressure from the Dark Emperor and Furbol in the painting, caused Ningyu to feel a headache. I'm just trying to save a dead horse. Flower Bud, it's all up to you. At this critical moment, Ningyu could not care less. He hid the flower bud in his sleeve and threw a punch, which collided with the fist of one of the corpse puppets. Swoosh! When the two fists collided, the flower bud in Ningyu's sleeve suddenly shot out and crashed into the corpse puppet's heart at an astonishing speed. Bang! A crisp sound rang out. The flower bud did not disappoint Ningyu. It instantly burrowed into the corpse puppet's body. Uft! However, Ningyu might have overlooked something. There was not one corpse puppet, but two. The second corpse puppet had already appeared beside Ningyu and raised its fist, aiming for Ningyu's head. Ding! At this critical moment, it was fortunate that Ningyu had raised the red fiend sword. Otherwise, the second corpse puppet's punch alone would have been enough to kill him. Ka! After using the red fiend's sword to block the fatal blow, Ningyu hurriedly retreated. When Ningyu retreated, the first corpse puppet had already turned from a 3-meter-tall, burly man into a pile of bones. The flower bud is so powerful. To be honest, the transformation of the first corpse puppet gave Ningyu a surreal feeling. After the flower bud bloomed its 8th petal, it actually possessed such powerful combat power? One had to know that the corpse puppet's cultivation level was at the peak of the manifestation realm, but it did not last more than a few seconds against the flower bud. Buzz, buzz! After killing a corpse puppet, the flower bud changed again. This change made Ningyu speechless. The flower bud, which originally had 8 petals, actually had 2 petals fused together, turning it into 7 petals. First, it bloomed one by one. Next, it won't fuse together one by one, right? Ningyu mumbled with his mouth slightly open. Swoosh! Just when Ningyu was in disbelief, the flower bud sprang out again and burrowed into the body of the second corpse puppet. Crack! History was astonishingly similar. The second corpse puppet turned into a pile of bones, and the flower bud turned from the original 7 petals to 6. Uft! Just as the second corpse puppet was refined by the flower bud, in a secret chamber in the Corpse Dragon Mountain Range, an old man suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. How dare you refine my corpse puppet? The old man wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and said fiercely, Could it be the skeleton, elder? After a while, the old man shook his head and denied himself. It shouldn't be the skeleton, elder. Even if he devoured all the energy in the heaven-devouring hound skeleton, he could only advance to the 1st grade human supreme. He wouldn't dare to refine my corpse puppet. Looks like I have to make a trip to Dugu Forest personally. Chapter 836. A strange teleportation formation. The Tree of World is indeed heaven-defying. To think that a flower bud blooming on a small branch would be so powerful. Ningyu mumbled to himself as he looked at the 2 piles of bones on the ground. Swoosh! Right at this moment, the flower bud suddenly sped up and returned to Ningyu's sleeve to hibernate. Is there still danger? The flower bud's sudden action caused Ningyu to frown slightly, and he secretly became cautious. Rumble! Just as Ningyu was being cautious, the ground under his feet suddenly shook. Seeing this, Ning Yu hurriedly retreated. Ning Yu had only taken a few steps back when the ground in front of him caved in. Boom, boom, boom. Not long after, an altar slowly rose from the ground. What is this teleportation formation? Ning Yu's pupils shrank when he saw the altar. He had a look of disbelief on his face. Ning Yu could not be blamed for having such a thought. The altar in front of him was very strange. 7 round tables. The altar was made up of a total of 7 round tables. From the bottom to the top, they became smaller and smaller. The round table at the top was only the size of a fist. Crack, crack, crack. All of a sudden, the round table started to crack from top to bottom. The debris from the explosion of the 6 round tables were all piled up at the edge of the last round table. From the outside, it looked like a cylindrical object. Crack! Just as everything seemed to be fixed, a hole the size of a human suddenly appeared on one side of the cylindrical object. At the same time, 3 large words appeared on the surface of the cylindrical object. Teleportation formation. Ning Yu's face darkened. Who made this teleportation formation? It was so strange. Let's make sure there's no danger first. After a moment of silence, Ning Yu released his soul power and carefully approached the teleportation formation. Whoosh! However, as soon as Ning Yu's soul power touched the edge of the teleportation formation, it was devoured by a powerful devouring force. SSS! Such a change had truly exceeded Ning Yu's expectations, and it caused him to gasp. A teleportation array that could devour soul power. As a Sky Supreme in his previous life, Ning Yu had come into contact with many teleportation arrays. However, he had seen very few teleportation arrays that could devour soul power. The transmission array in front of them could devour soul force. This meant that the martial artist who built this transmission array had an extremely powerful soul force. My soul force is at the peak of level 6. Since this transmitting formation can devour my soul force, the warrior who built this transmitting formation must have at least reached the peak of level 8. Ning Yu took a deep breath and fell into deep thought. The current situation was very tricky. If they couldn't break the devouring power around the teleportation array, it would be very difficult to destroy it. Suddenly, Ning Yu's arm began to shake violently. That's right, the flower bud. It must have a way to break the devouring power around the teleportation formation. Ning Yu's face lit up with joy. He flipped his wrist and was about to throw the flower bud out of his sleeve. However, before Ning Yu could throw the flower bud, he quickly separated a bit of soul power and controlled the flower bud to endure. Hee, Ning Yu, why didn't you inform me immediately when you found the teleportation array? In the next moment, a faint laugh rang out in the area. Then, Gu Yuan gradually appeared in Ning Yu's vision. A moment later, Gu Yuan stood in front of Ning Yu and asked, "Are you planning to use this teleportation array to leave?" Gu Yuan, if I remember correctly, when we parted ways in the main hall, you had 8 martial artists with you. Looking at the only middle stage manifestation realm martial artist behind Gu Yuan, Ning Yu's lips curled up and he said calmly, "Why is there only one now? Don't tell me you dismissed them because you were afraid of danger?" Gu Yuan's face instantly darkened when he heard that. Ning Yu's sarcasm made him very angry. The reason why only Tsang Yi was left behind was because they had encountered many array formations along the way. Almost every time they encountered an array formation, they would lose 1 or 2 genius martial artists. To be honest, it was a miracle that Tsang Yi was still alive after arriving here. Cut the crap. Why didn't you destroy this transportation formation? Gu Yuan coldly said, suppressing the anger in his heart. I just found it, and you came over. How am I going to destroy it? Ning Yu shrugged and said, If you have the ability, you can destroy it yourself. With that, Ning Yu stepped aside for Gu Yuan. Humph! Gu Yuan coldly snorted. standing in place without moving. As a peerless genius of the nine-furnace divine pavilion's ninth branch, Gu Yuan had never been afraid of anything. However, what he had experienced in the hall made Gu Yuan doubt his life. Gu Yuan, you have to think carefully. If there is no accident, this transportation formation will lead to the Corpse Dragon mountain range. Ning Yu calmly said, "There is a venerable corpse dragon in the Corpse Dragon mountain range. Once the venerable corpse dragon appears from the transportation formation, both you and I will die. Ningyu, stop pretending. Who knows if you were the one who set up this teleportation array?" Gu Yuan coldly said, "It doesn't matter to me. At worst, when the venerable corpse dragon comes, we can all perish together." Ningyu crossed his arms in front of his chest and lightly said, "Song Yi." Seeing Ningyu's appearance, Gu Yuan turned and scolded, "You go and test the transportation formation." Hearing Gu Yuan's words, Song Yi felt as if he had been slapped by a stone dog. "Fuck, you're afraid, but you want me to go." However, Song Yi's status in the nine-furnace divine pavilion was much lower than Gu Yuan's. He had no choice but to slowly step forward. "Hurry! If the venerable corpse dragon comes, we'll be in danger." Seeing Song Yi's tortoise-like speed, Gu Yuan coldly snorted and then kicked Song Yi's butt. "If you don't want to die, hurry up and go." Song Yi's speed was originally very slow, but after Gu Yuan's kick, he directly came into close contact with the transportation formation. Swish! Suddenly, a huge beam of light shot out from the transportation formation, wrapping around Song Yi and disappearing in the blink of an eye. The sudden change caused Gu Yuan and even Ningyu's mouths to hang slightly open, abnormally dumbfounded. Gulp! After a while, Gu Yuan swallowed a mouthful of saliva. With a flick of his wrist, he suddenly blasted out a huge fist light. The fist light was very fast, and in the blink of an eye, it struck the transportation formation. Boom, boom! A huge rumbling sound rang out as the transportation formation violently shook. Not good. The transportation formation is about to explode. Ning Yu's expression changed drastically as he hastily retreated. Damn it! Gu Yuan did not expect his transportation formation to be so weak that it was about to shatter from a single punch. Rumble! Ning Yu and Gu Yuan had just retreated a dozen meters when the transportation formation suddenly exploded. Crash! At this critical moment, a flower bud flew out from Ning Yu's sleeve. Its petals suddenly grew larger, wrapping around Ning Yu. Chapter 837. Half of their strength. Chapter 837. What's going on? The explosion of the transmission array caused the martial artists who had just entered the hall to reveal looks of horror. Not good. Something exploded. Everyone run. Among the martial artists, there were martial artists with powerful soul perception that changed their expressions. Without much time to think, they immediately used their secret techniques to escape. However, the speed at which these martial artists retreated was clearly slower by half a beat. Rumble! A huge shockwave came from the depths of the hall, like thunder from the nine heavens. It struck everyone in the blink of an eye. Ah, my eyes! If I had known, I wouldn't have come. Dugu Forest is indeed a burial ground. I didn't think that our nine cauldron divine pavilion's 8th branch would fall here. Nonsense. Our 7th branch also couldn't escape this calamity. All sorts of screams and shouts resounded in the hall. Some martial artists who didn't have time to escape the hall were blasted into mincemeat, dying on the spot. But even those martial artists who left the hall didn't have a good ending. They were either injured or crippled. At this moment, the entire hall was purgatory on earth. Pucci! At the same time that the transmission array exploded, an old man in a mountain range suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. Damn it! They actually destroyed the transmission array. The old man was furious to the extreme, but the old man couldn't do anything. From where he was to Duga Forest, it would take at least a few hours. Since the transmission array was destroyed, it meant that the enemy would definitely leave Duga Forest. After a moment of silence, the old man turned around and dashed towards the Corpse Dragon mountain range. Wait for me to recover from my injuries, then I'll go investigate. The old man's figure gradually blurred and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Sha! In the depths of Duga Forest, the huge destructive power of the transmission array's explosion directly destroyed the hull. In front of the hull, there were dozens of corpses lying haphazardly. On the other side, there were 7 or 8 martial artists who were still breathing. They were lying under a large tree, panting heavily. Damn it! I didn't think that our 8th branch would suffer such heavy losses. Under the towering tree, a young martial artist in his 20s said in a cold voice, "When I find Gu Yuan, I'll definitely ask him." "Why are you asking?" Beside the young cultivator, a cultivator dressed in blue said coldly, "It's all because of your men. They said that Gu Yuan found a treasure in the depths of Duga Forest. Otherwise, why would our 7th branch come here?" "Su Shan, what is the meaning of this? I didn't force you to come here. How can you blame me for this?" Ho Lei was furious. Although it was a message from his informant, he did not force Su Xuanqiang to follow him. Moreover, Su Shan hadn't said anything along the way. Who would have thought that now that they were in danger, Su Shan would start to ramble? If not for the fact that his strength was slightly lower than Su Shan's, Ho Lei would have even killed Su Shan on the spot. Ho Lei, stop pretending. Don't think that I don't know what you're planning. Su Shan was also very angry and said, "Let's not talk about anything else for now. Right now, you and I can use 50% of our strength. In my opinion, we should join hands and enter the ruins of the main hall. No matter what, we must find Gu Yuan. This matter is not reliable. Who knows if Gu Yuan is injured?" Ho Lei frowned. "Who cares?" Su Shan said coldly. Cough, cough. However, before Su Shan's words fell, a dry cough sounded out from the ruins of the main hall. The sudden dry cough caused Su Shan's voice to come to a screeching halt. He turned his head to look at the familiar figure slowly walking out from the ruins. Gu Yuan. Su Shan's eyes were fixed on the martial artist in the ruins as he said in a low voice, "Gu Yuan has been seriously injured." Besides Su Shan, Ho Lei was stunned for a moment before saying, "If I'm not wrong, Gu Yuan's true combat strength should be less than 50%. What do we do, should we?" After Gu Yuan appeared, the originally noisy Su Shan and Ho Lei instantly became good friends. As Su Shan spoke, his right hand gently slid across his neck. His meaning was self-evident. "Wait a little longer." Ho Lei lowered his voice and said, "Although Gu Yuan's strength is less than 50%, we also only have 50% of our strength left. If we fight head-on like this, it will be very disadvantageous for us." "You mean to say that we should not reveal our killing intent first?" Su Shan asked doubtfully. "That's right," Ho Lei said. In the ruins, Gu Yuan looked at the people from the 9 Cauldrons divine pavilion in the distance, and his face lit up with joy. But very quickly, Gu Yuan's pupils shrank as he cursed inwardly. In the 9 Cauldrons divine pavilion, he had always been at odds with Su Shan and Ho Lei. Now that his strength was not at its peak, wouldn't it be very dangerous for him to encounter Su Shan and Ho Lei? The might of the teleportation array's explosion is indeed not to be underestimated. Just as Gu Yuan was secretly being cautious, a voice was transmitted to his ear. Gu Yuan's expression changed greatly when he heard this familiar voice, and he hurriedly turned his head. This glance caused Gu Yuan to be dumbfounded as his pupils rapidly shrank. Why you? How is this possible? Gu Yuan stretched out his hand and pointed at the familiar figure in front of him. He said, incredulously, "You are only at the half-step manifestation stage. How could you be unscathed from the teleportation array's explosion?" "How could I be unscathed?" Ning Yu pointed at his own nose and indifferently said, "This matter is something you will never know for the rest of your life." Su Shen, Hole. Gu Yuan knew that with his current battle strength, he was definitely not Ning Yu's match. Therefore, Gu Yuan loudly shouted, "This is Ning Yu. I advise you to put away your thoughts and deal with him together with me. Otherwise, everyone will die." Su Shen and Ho Lei's expressions turned ugly when Gu Yuan saw through their inner thoughts. "Don't just stand there. Hurry up and come over." Seeing Su Shen and Ho Lei standing there without moving, Gu Yuan was very angry. He said, "Don't think that Ning Yu is only at the half-step manifestation stage. Let me tell you the truth. In the Great Hall, Ning Yu killed a half-step Supreme Being corpse puppet with his bare hands. In order to attract Su Shen and Ho Lei's attention, Gu Yuan even exaggerated. What? As expected, Gu Yuan's exaggeration had a very good effect. Su Shen and Ho Lei could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. A half-step manifestation stage martial artist killed a half-step Supreme Being barehanded? If such a peerless genius was allowed to grow to the half-step Supreme Being stage, just how terrifying would he be? The 9 Cauldron Divine Pavilion's motto was that any peerless genius that did not join them deserved to die. Therefore, Su Shen and Ho Lei temporarily cast aside their previous enmity. Their figures flashed, and they arrived beside Gu Yuan. 3 half-step Supreme Being martial artists with only about 50% of their strength left. Looking at the 3 martial artists in front of him, Ning Yu's expression was neither happy nor sad. With a flick of his sleeve, he took out the red demon sword. "Next, let me see just how powerful the peerless geniuses of the 9 Cauldron Divine Pavilion are." Chapter 838. Putting on an Act. Chapter 838. Inch Go. Gu Yuan knew how terrifying Ning Yu was, so he did not hold back and unleashed his full strength. He was the first to charge at Ning Yu. "Be careful." Su Shen and Ho Lei exchanged a glance when they saw Gu Yuan risking his life like this, and they flew out in unison. Rumble. Above the ruins, Ning Yu held the red devil sword and fought 1 against 3. Not long after the battle started, Ning Yu was at a disadvantage. Although Gu Yuan and the other 2 could only unleash about 50% of their strength, they were martial artists half a step into the supremacy realm. 50% of their strength was enough to kill an ordinary peak manifestation realm martial artist. At his peak, Ning Yu could only fight 1 against 3 evenly. He could not gain the slightest advantage. Moreover, Ning Yu had to use his Yuan Qi to suppress the painting. The Dark Emperor and Fur Ball in the painting were almost able to completely refine the energy of the heaven-devouring dog skeleton. Although Ning Yu did not know how the Dark Emperor and Fur Ball could refine the energy so quickly, Ning Yu was sure that as long as he could hold on until the Dark Emperor and Fur Ball came out of seclusion, all his problems would be solved. And in the current situation, even though he was at a disadvantage, it was not too big of a problem for Ning Yu to hold on for an hour. "No, I have to think of a way." The more the battle went on, the more shocked Gu Yuan became. The fact that Ning Yu could fight 1 against 3 and only be at a disadvantage shocked Gu Yuan to the extreme. "Su Shen, Ho Lei, stop Ning Yu first. I'm going to use my big move." Gu Yuan forced Ning Yu back with 1 move and said in a low voice, "No, we can't hold on." Without any hesitation, Su Shen rejected Gu Yuan's idea. What a joke! Let the two of them fight Ningyu? If something were to happen to him, wouldn't Gu Yuan benefit from it? Even if someone were to fight, it would be the two of them, not Gu Yuan. Gu Yuan, that's a good idea. Why don't you block Ningyu while Ho Lei and I use our ultimate moves? Su Shun retreated from the battlefield in the blink of an eye and flew to the other side. As for Ho Lei, he followed closely behind Su Shun and retreated from the battlefield. Puchi, Su Shun and Ho Lei had just withdrawn from the battlefield when Ning Yu seized the opportunity to stab Gu Yuan in the chest. Crazily spurting a mouthful of blood, Gu Yuan fiercely said, "I can only hold on for 3 minutes. If you don't make a move after 3 minutes, then bear the consequences." Gu Yuan was not an arrogant and conceited person. He knew what he was capable of. If he were to fight against Ningyu with 50% of his strength, he would only be able to last 3 minutes at most. If Ningyu had any powerful trump cards, he might not even last 3 minutes before being killed. Don't worry, 3 minutes is enough for us to use our trump cards. If we leave now, won't you be killed beyond recognition? Ho Lei echoed, "We saved your life today. You must know how to repay our kindness." Tui, gratitude? When I survive this calamity, it will be the time of your deaths, Gu Yuan said to himself. As for Ningyu, he had no time to care about Su Shun and the others bickering. In the painting, the Dark Emperor and Fur Ball were on the verge of breaking through. What the hell? There's so much energy in the heaven-devouring dog skeleton, but it's not enough for you to advance to the intermediate stage at the same time? Ningyu was very speechless, extremely speechless. In the painting, the Dark Emperor and Fur Ball were only a little bit away from breaking through, but they were unable to do so. After some investigation, Ningyu finally found the problem. It was not that the Dark Emperor and Fur Ball's energy refinement speed was not fast enough, but that there was not enough energy in their bodies to reach the peak. Let me help you. Ningyu gritted his teeth and injected all the vital energy in his body into the painting. At the same time, he threw all the vital crystals, pills, and medicinal herbs in his storage ring into the painting. The Dark Emperor and Fur Ball did not disappoint Ningyu. Bam! Bam! After refining such a large amount of energy, a dull sound rang out from their bodies. After the dull sound, the Dark Emperor and Fur Ball suddenly opened their eyes. One could vaguely see traces of terrifying light bursting forth from the Dark Emperor and Fur Ball's eyes. Manifestation intermediate stage. Sensing the aura fluctuations from the Dark Emperor and Fur Ball, Ningyu slowly exhaled, and his nervous heart relaxed slightly. PFFF. However, Ningyu had only just relaxed when he spat out a large mouthful of blood, and his body swayed unsteadily. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.